TikTok, Billith. Everything's on. We are rolling. Calling all Foundation staff. Calling all Foundation staff. This is Dr. Theron Sherman. Let us know in the chat if you read us. If you're over on the TikTok, head to the YouTube. That's where you're going to see the much better graphics, as well as Billith and I's handsome faces. We are digitizing our signals. We are reticulating splines. If you're over on the YouTube like you are supposed to be, following orders, make sure you like and share and subscribe and all that YouTube business using your encrypted Foundation-issued YouTube account. If you use your civilian account and threaten the integrity of the Veil, we will know that you messed up, Steve. With that out of the way, let us take it to the live show. Hey there, Foundation staff. This is Dr. Theron Sherman, but you can call me Sherm, and my wonderful associate, Billith. Welcome to another anomalous broadcast from Site 42. Part
11 or part 10.9, I'm not sure.
11, if we don't count the partials from last week, which would make it part 13. Welcome to 11 streams of reading SCP-7000 entries.
At least they didn't, they didn't keep getting longer like they did for the first 5.
Well, we're not to the end yet. And the later they are in posting order, that's the most likely that they took the longest to write.
Or they rushed it and was the shortest. Who knows?
You are an optimist, and I respect that about you, my friend.
I don't know why.
Not after everything we've gone through, no.
Whew.
But why are we doing such a ridiculous task? It is, of course, because right before the contest, our dear friend, Dr. Cimmerian, was threatened and nearby taken out of this existence by a tree.
It's unfortunate. We're still working on getting all the trees out of the way. I have good news. We have made progress, but we are not there yet. Not by a long shot. They keep growing. I don't know what happens.
You may see that this GoFundMe is 100% full, and it is because we are epic as a Site 42 and greater SCP community. But we do not stop at 100%. We give 110%. We give 150%. We do what we can to support our artists. So it's also going to take a lot more crisp, clean $100 bills to insulate the ceiling hole properly. Like, we could use ones, but come on, $100 are 100 times more insulating. That's how math works.
That is how math works. And you know what? We want to hit that's like thematically speaking, we want to hit 777% our goal. That would be perfect. Let's try for that, everyone.
777%. I like it. Perfect plan for 7Con. So with that in mind, let us make our way to the first of our luck-themed articles for the day.
And which one is that? I don't remember.
We are currently opening up SCP-7123 by Ross Boss Arts.
Ah, right, yes. 7123. And that is, once I get the list up, here we are. 7-1.
I see a +12, so I worry for them. But I also see like this really dope theme, and it makes me happy. I like
this. Sounds nice. It sounds unique. The name is Dice with Death.
Dice with Death?
7123. You said, right?
That's right.
Yep, Dice with Death. It's
and I also
one.
I already see Mobile Task Force name down here, Danse Macabre, and that makes me. I'm digging the aesthetics here. I'm ready.
The font is a little bit serif heavy for my taste, but
that's right. All right, from the top, let's get this show on the road. Oh, wait, this is not the right size. I got to resize. Smaller. There, now we can see everything. Perfect. Little bigger. A little bigger. Nope, that's moving it. I am very picky. I apologize, Site 42 staff. Aesthetics need to be perfect. Item number SCP-7123. Pictured an instance of SCP-7123-A. Object class Keter. Special containment procedures. Due to the nature of SCP-7123, containment methods are primarily focused on tracking and mitigating knowledge of its effects. Mobile Task Force Theta 30 codename Danse Macabre, are assigned to this task until further notice. Any recovered SCP-7123-A instances are to be stored at Site-23 for further testing. Description: SCP-7123 is a phenomenon that occurs seemingly at random and in nearly every populated area on the planet. Footnote: comprised of SCP-7123-A and SCP-7123-B. To date, over 2 digits redacted 00 manifestations have occurred since initial discovery. Date, redacted month, day 16, 19 redacted last 2 digits of year, with evidence suggesting prior manifestations occurring at least as early as 13 redacted 2 years. The redacteds are very esoteric in this one, I can already tell. Although, I'm certain that redaction there has to be an over 9,000 joke. Is that what that is? Am I right in assuming?
It could be. It could be. I see it, yeah. That makes sense to me.
Author, if you're here, Ross Boss Arts, let me know if it's over 9,000. I'm very interested. Continuing on. Evidence of an SCP-7123 event begins with the manifestation of an instance of SCP-7123-A. SCP-7123-A instances are typically various forms of board game, dice, or game of chance. Common instances include chessboards. Footnote: 790 recorded instances. Roulette wheels. Footnote: 500 recorded instances. And Chohan. Footnote: a traditional Japanese dice game, 490 recorded instances. I'm glad they decided that they would, tell us about that one. Very nice of them. While active, SCP-7123-A instances are exceedingly resilient to conventional forms of damage, capable of resisting heat in excess of 6,000 degrees Kelvin, cold approaching absolute zero, crush force in excess of 3,000 psi, and the explosive force of 1,000 pounds tritonal explosive. Conversely, inert instances can be disposed of to the same degree of effectiveness as their non-anomalous counterparts. When an individual makes physical contact with an active -A instance, SCP-7123-B will become visible to that individual. There are currently no known means to capture SCP-7123-B on cameras or any form of recording device, and the entity does not appear on X-ray, thermal, or other visual means of detection. However, its actions in baseline reality are detected by motion sensors. Footnote: albeit only movement of objects, individuals, or changes in air pressure in the wake of its movements. Additionally, visual records are able to be procured by affected individuals drawing imagery of SCP-7123-B. See test log SCP-7123-1. As of yet, it is currently unclear if SCP-7123-B is a singular entity, or near-identical individual entities that manifest with each SCP-7123 event. However, every surviving account or Foundation-conducted interview describes the same appearance: a tall, thin figure beneath a black or dark robe, obscuring any distinguishing features, if any exist, with only a pair of slender hands in thin black gloves seen outside of the cloak. Upon becoming visible to an affected individual, SCP-7123-B will gesture to the SCP-7123-A instance before them, beckoning the subject to play the game. SCP-7123-B will also partake in the game, and unless the subject steps away or refuses to play, the game will continue until either side loses or forfeits. If the subject loses, they will suffer an immediate heart attack, causing their death. To date, there have been no known victories against SCP-7123-B. If an affected individual refuses to partake in the game, no physical harm will come to them. However, SCP-7123-B will remain visible to the subject. This effect will not relent until either the subject agrees to play the game, or they convince another individual to touch the SCP-7123-J instance. Doing so will, quote, pass on, end quote, the effect to that new individual, leaving the original target entirely unaffected. Discovery Log. SCP-7123 first became known to the Foundation on redacted date 16th, 19 redacted year, following a police report in redacted London. Two civilians, henceforth referred to as Civilian A and Civilian B for the sake of clarity, had apparently seen, quote, Death himself, end quote, after noticing a previously unseen deck of cards on their kitchen table. Civilian A had touched the cards first, and then prompted Civilian B to do the same. Both were too scared to initiate the game further, and contacted local authorities. Foundation agents embedded within the Metropolitan Area Police Force ensured the redaction of the report and the anesthetization of all affected individuals, while the still active SCP-7123-A instance was successfully retrieved and sent to Site 23 for analysis. Addendum, SCP-7000.1. Need to fix that. Upon discovery that active SCP-7123-A instances can be safely transported by Mobile Task Force units, and more readily located via the detection of hotspots and abnormal Hume levels emitted by active instances, standard operating procedure was altered to reflect this. Henceforth, Mobile Task Force Theta 30 are to be dispatched to any new SCP-7123 events detected by the Foundation for the primary purpose of obtaining active SCP-7123-A instances, so as to perform further testing with SCP-7123-B. Test log SCP-7123-1. Forward. D-1971991 was sent into Chamber 7123-16, containing an active SCP-7123-A instance, so as to properly record its effects. D-1971991 was also given a piece of paper and HB pencil, so as to provide a visual record of SCP-7123-B. Dr. Edward Block, senior researcher of SCP-7123, is present over intercom during this test. Begin log. 1200 hours 47 minutes, July 13th, 2019. D-Class, Dr. Block. Do we ever talk to the entity? Doesn't look like it. So, you want the D-Class or the Doctor?
I'll take the D-Class just to avoid having to say my own name.
Perfect. You chose wisely.
Yeah, and where did my window go? I just was resizing my windows, and oh, here we go. Perfect. All right. I'm good.
D17... See, I already messed up. You chose wisely. D1971991, please approach the objects on the table. The SCP-7123-A instance, in this case a 2,000-piece puzzle and small sand hourglass.
Doc, are you kidding me with this? You really brought me out here to play a puzzle? What is this, my birthday?
D1971991, please approach the objects at the table and sit down. If you cannot comply, you will be forcibly returned to your quarters.
Fine, whatever. You're the boss, Doc.
D1791991 approaches the table and sits down at the closest provided chair. Please touch one of the puzzle pieces or the hourglass. D1971991 sighs and rests one finger against the top of the hourglass. He instantly pulls back due to the presumed manifestation of SCP-7123-B.
Holy what the fuck is that thing?
Please describe what it is you're seeing, speaking clearly.
You're telling me you aren't seeing this? Are you fucking blind?
Due to the nature of the anomaly, only you are able to see the entity in front of you. You may recall that we provided you with drawing materials. Please draw what it is you see while describing it for the microphone.
Fuck no. Let me out of here before that thing does anything to me.
D1971991, may I remind you that you are in the presence of armed Foundation officers who can, on my order, forcibly restrain you and leave you in the presence of SCP-7123-B until you cooperate. Now, can you please do what is asked of you?
Fine. Whatever.
D1971991 retrieves the paper and pencil from the provided satchel and begins to draw an approximation of SCP-7123-B.
Okay, so honestly, best way I can describe this thing is, well, the Grim Reaper. I know that sounds stupid saying it. Long black robes, tall, thin, the whole 9 yards.
That's quite alright. Whatever frame of reference that makes it easiest for you to describe it to us. Are there any other distinguishing features of note?
Only its hands, or rather what's covering them. It's got these thin black gloves on. I can't quite tell if those are full hands under them or something else.
Very well. When you are done with the sketch, please hand it to one of the guards present. D1971991 continues drawing for approximately 2 minutes before setting down the pencil and handing the sheet of paper to the nearest guard.
Okay, so now what? Am I free to go?
Not quite yet. If you would please attempt to finish the puzzle in front of you as quickly as possible. D1971991 glances at the hourglass next to the puzzle.
What about this?
We believe that will be taken care of for you. Shortly after Dr. Block finishes speaking, the hourglass is lifted off the ground, twisted and placed upside down, back onto the table. It is presumed that SCP-7123-B, hearing the conversation, initiated the, quote, game.
Oh, shit. Fuck. I guess I'll start with a corner.
D1971991 picks up the bottom left corner piece of the puzzle and places it on the provided checkerboard mat and begins frantically looking for adjoining pieces. Extraneous data removed. Before D1971991 can place the final piece of the puzzle, the last grains of sand in the hourglass drop to the bottom.
Oh shit! I didn't finish in time. What happens now? Do I have to start again, or?
At this point, D1971991 begins convulsing and collapses onto the floor of the test chamber. The guards present attempt to provide medical support, but he is declared dead of a heart attack. His body is removed from the chamber. End log. Closing statement. Once it was determined that no further manifestations of SCP-7123-B could occur from the SCP-7123-A instance, both it and the drawing of -B were recovered from the test chamber for further analysis. Pictured, artist depiction of SCP-7123-B drawn by D1971991.
Jump scare.
How charming. Addendum. SCP-71232. A lack of verbal response from SCP-7123-B, either as determined by D1971991 or picked up on any audio devices, was noted by Researcher Logan. Researcher Logan requests an interview with SCP-7123-B so as to devise a means to potentially communicate with it and discover more about SCP-7123 as a whole. Granted. Interview log. SCP-7123.1. Interviewed SCP-7123-B. Interviewer, Researcher Logan. Forward. In an attempt to communicate with SCP-7123-B, Researcher Logan requested a deck of tarot cards to be brought along with them to the attempted interview. Granted. A still active SCP-7123-A instance. Footnote, a set of wooden dominoes, was placed on the center table of Interview Room D within Site-23. Begin log. 2000 hours, 35 minutes. September 24th, 2019. Researcher Logan places his hand on the SCP-7123-A instance, allowing him to perceive SCP-7123-B. You want to take the Reaper?
Let's do it.
Hello, SCP-7123-B. This may seem rather unorthodox, given your history, but I was hoping that now we are able to perceive one another, perhaps we can properly communicate with one another. I am Researcher Logan, and speaking to you today as part of the SCP Foundation. Is there anything you're able to tell us about yourself?
Unresponsive.
I was like, did you turn your camera off to be unresponsive? That's method, man.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Ah, yes. Well, I did anticipate there'd be a lack of response on your part, and so I brought a different means with which to communicate, one you'd perhaps find more preferable. Researcher Logan pulls the Major Arcana Tarot deck from out of his lab coat pocket and places it on the table. The chair opposite Researcher Logan shifts slightly, indicating SCP-7123-B has noticed the cards. The cards are then seen leaving the researcher's hand and seemingly floating. It is presumed that SCP-7123-B has taken the deck from him and is inspecting each card. Ah, excellent. I'm glad they take your interest. I trust they will be satisfactory for the purposes I've asked. Motion sensors detect a slight shift in air pressure around the approximate location of SCP-7123-B's head. It is presumed, coupled with later footage, that this was a nod. What is the purpose of the SCP-7123-A instances? Researcher Logan gestures to the SCP-7123-A instance still present on the table. SCP-7123-B picks a card from the deck and turns it over. Justice, but reversed. I see. Something we aren't fully meant to know? I do have to press for more questions if possible. Where do you come from? SCP-7123-B turns over the next card. This is a gripping voice acting performance, Billith. You are really nailing this.
I don't know what you want from me.
I couldn't want anything more. You are spectacular. A tour de force. The next card is turned over. The Star. You are from a higher power. You follow a celestial mandate, but I wonder how. I wonder now. What is your purpose? SCP-7123-B turns over the next card. The Tower. Upheaval. Karmic justice. Destruction. Long pause. Who are you? Long pause. SCP-7123-B turns over the next card. Researcher Logan. Death. At the reveal of this final card, Researcher Logan collapsed to the floor in a manner similar to all prior known victims of SCP-7123 and was pronounced dead of a heart attack by on-site medical staff. End log. Closing statement. Following the death of Researcher Logan, Dr. Black has called that all staff testing with SCP-7123 be suspended until further notice granted.
Kind of one-trick pony, huh?
He's got one move, but he plays it.
Does it well, yeah.
Addendum SCP-7123.3. On March 22nd, 2020, Dr. Block requested access to an active SCP-7123-A instance, specifically on a chessboard instance. Due to his history with the game, provisional request was granted on the condition that Dr. Block appoint his successor on the project in the event of his death, to which he agreed. Test log SCP-7123-2. Forward. Dr. Block requested to enter the chamber alone, albeit overseen in the observation desk by acting senior researcher Dr. Arts. Begin log 700 hours 39 minutes, March 23rd, 2020. Dr. Block enters the test chamber alone, as requested. The voice of Dr. Arts comes through on the intercom.
Hey, Dr. Arts.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Block, can you hear me? Just checking all systems are running properly.
Yes, thank you, Charles. You don't have to worry. I have everything under control. Dr. Block sits down at the closest provided chair. Across from him, a still active SCP-7123-A instance, a chessboard, as requested by Dr. Block. I promise you, Theodore, you won't have died for nothing. Dr. Block touches the nearest chess piece and raises his head to meet the presumed gaze of SCP-7123-B. Ah, hello. I don't believe we've had the pleasure of meeting face to face. Though I must say, first impressions aren't promising, what with my friend you murdered. But I know how this ends, how it must end. I shall do everything in my power to see to it you never take another soul. That besides... Dr. Block picks up a pawn piece on his side of the board. Here's to a clean game. Dr. Block moves his pawn to e4. In response, SCP-7123-B moves the pawn parallel to Dr. Block's, placing it at e5. Dr. Block moves one of his knights to f3. SCP-7123-B moves another pawn, this time to d6. Dr. Block pauses for a moment, looking at SCP-7123-B, and then at the pawn in his hand. Dr. Block then moves that pawn 2 squares forward to d4. SCP-7123-B responds by moving a bishop to g4. Extraneous data removed. Dr. Block moves his queen to d4, putting SCP-7123-B in checkmate. I won. Holy shit, I won.
You.
Oh my god.
You lucky son of a bitch.
The SCP-7123-A instance disappears, having seemingly demanifested. The chair where SCP-7123-B clatters to the floor. According to Dr. Block, this was SCP-7123-B rising from his seat and then demanifesting in front of him. On-site medical staff enter the test chamber to escort Dr. Block from it and are seen administering a mild sedative to calm his high stress levels. End log. Closing statement. Due to the as-yet unclear results of this test, along with all active SCP-7123-A instances in the custody of the Foundation becoming inert, it has been deemed acceptable to reclassify SCP-7123 as pending. Outdated. See Addendum SCP-7123-4. Addendum SCP-7123-4. Approximately 2 months after Test 7123-2, Dr. Block collapsed in his office in a manner identical to all other victims of SCP-7123-B. Upon recovery of the body, medical staff also found a note left on Dr. Block's desk. You cannot cheat death forever. No one escapes me. Analysis of both the handwriting and the parchment used in the note is currently inconclusive.
I like the idea of like playing dice with death. It's a cool, it's obviously taken very literally in this sense. I feel like maybe should have gone either way. Either you describe each move and like maybe have like the diagrams, because it's leaving a lot up to like the person that might not know anything about chess to just kind of like imagine where the moves are. But if you had some pictures or something and it was like a little bit more moment by moment, maybe it would have been more enticing there at the end. Because like having it skip right to the checkmate was kind of anticlimactic. IMO.
So I have like literal like bookmarks of where I have my thoughts change on this article as my feelings evolved on it. To your point, right. If the chess moves in the beginning where we get to see them are like the opening gambit of some very interesting, well-played championship game, I might forgive that a little.
Yeah.
But I do agree that cutting to the finish of what is supposed to be a very tense scene robs it of its power a little bit.
Yeah, and even just having a little bit at the end where they're like it's coming to a conclusion, that might have made it seem less abrupt. Same thing with the puzzle, like you start to the corner piece and then it just cuts to the time running out. If you went kind of moment by moment, you saw like D-Class getting more frantic trying to complete this puzzle. I don't know, possibly. I can't.
This would be one where if you were doing in film, you could do it with montages and make it very like stressful.
Yes, exactly. A lot of cuts and yeah, definitely.
But, limitation of the medium, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the beginning of this, I was really enjoying it because even in some of its like very simplistic and cliche moves, like the weird redactions, it really felt like a decent Series 1 article for a bit.
Sure.
And then it started to go a little long, both the D-Class name and the article in general. Then we got to like the revenge chess match and I was back in, and then disappointed by it being cut short.
Mm-hmm.
But then seeing him win, I was hoping for, like, I immediately first went to, what if this is the cause of End of Death? And that would be a really fun tie-in with their canon.
That would have been really cool. Yeah, that would be really
And
neat.
it would have been either cliche or a really good tie-in. That's on the eyes of the beholder. I would have liked it.
Yeah.
I don't like death coming for him 2 months later like a sore loser. That ending disappoints me personally.
I would have rather it be like the Santa Claus with Tim Allen where he beats death and then has to become the Grim Reaper.
That's the first one I thought. Yes, he becomes death.
Yeah, I agree though. Yeah, having him come like was a little bit like, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, oh well, guess that was all for nothing.
Overall, for what this is, I still like it enough to give it an upvote.
Yeah.
It is still within my, like, positive feelings overall.
Yeah, I
wouldn't mind if they, like, made some changes, though.
Yes, I agree with that sentiment, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I like their cute little death drawing. He's adorable.
Tonally, I was like, is this supposed to be spooky?
Tonally, it's quaint.
Yeah, it's good. The picture kind of feels a little bit not what I would imagine to find on the top picture, the file
with the dice.
Picture the dice, yeah. Looking at it closer kind of gives me the vibe that it's like not what you'd see on a case file like that, but
yeah, it's actually a great photo, but I don't feel like it matches the article compared to like everything else.
Yeah, but good photo in general. Yeah.
Sweetness. And can I not upvote or something? Let me refresh the page.
Oh. Okay. One thing I do have to bring up is the use of imperial units.
Oh, did they?
They use a 1,000 pound.
1,000 pound.
And pounds per square inch. It's not exactly the most clinical. Use metric units. Just use metric units. Or Kelvin's fine. Use Kelvin. That's cool. I've never seen using Imperial units go down well in an article.
No, typically we do not let Imperial units pass most of the time. They get changed pretty quickly.
And like the longer numbers, some of these, like for example, the 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, you can just put the word there. You can put 2,000, and it looks a little bit better in my opinion, anyway. But yeah.
Author, you got me like bare minimum of feels for your upvote, but I agree with Billith. A lot of this could use a little cleaning up, and I hope you do it.
Yeah, a little bit of TLC. Next one. On to the next one.
That brings us to 7085 by Radioactive Radds.
Nice. Let's see. Pluck, it's called.
It's just called Luck?
Pluck. P-L-U-C-K.
Pluck, okay.
Pluck. It's a pluck.
And this is modestly long. There's a couple of collapsibles, but they're not particularly large collapsibles, so
that's kind of interesting. All right. Take it away. SCP-7085. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. SCP-7085 is to be contained in Area 05 inside a containment cell fitted with concrete and shock-absorbent padding. Personnel equipped with writable material are to be present in front of SCP-7085 at all times for the retrieval of new emitted information. Information recovered from SCP-7085 is to be cataloged and held in containment until deliberations can be made on its status. And the image caption, entrance to SCP-7085's location. Ooh, a hover zoom. Nice. Due to its size, SCP-7085-A is to be contained inside a customized humanoid containment cell. They are to be secured in chains strengthened with occult smithing around their torso and limbs to inhibit excessive movement and escape. Due to their cooperation, however, they are allowed minimal recreational privileges. Description. SCP-7085 is a sphere with a radius of 0.5 meters composed of unknown metallic and non-metallic substances. SCP-7085 maintains permanent levitation 2 meters above the ground and emits an intense light that radiates from its center. Its shape periodically changes in the form of self-compression and elongation, giving it the appearance of a liquid. SCP-7085 emits information that is relayed through the manipulation of the environment and human functions. The information comes in an array of forms, such as letters written in different rhyming schemes, mechanical devices being moved in unnatural positions to produce sounds that would normally be unable to make, singing birds that will talk in high-pitched voices, and in dreams that are recorded to have constant humming noise in the background. Since its discovery in 1851, SCP-7085's information has consisted of indecipherable messages, illustrations and descriptions of known and unknown flora and fauna, previously unknown knowledge of anomalies in Foundation containment or control, and instructions to perform and utilize occult practices, thaumaturgy, and sciences of mainstream and anomalous branches. To date, SCP-7085's information has only been delivered to Foundation personnel who have employed by the Foundation for at least 7 years and are of part of the higher echelons within the organization. Prior to its physical discovery, SCP-7085 was thought to only exist as emitted information. However, due to the chance of SCP-7085 being discovered by non-Foundation personnel, the administrator at the time, Luther Xander, designated an operational force to discover its origins. 3 days after this declaration, SCP-7085 emitted the coordinates to its location. In 1852, an expedition force led by the administrator traveled to the location to discern the nature of SCP-7085. 1852. Some time ago. Excerpt of Personnel Redacted's accounts of the SCP-7085 expedition force. It was a grueling 2 weeks. The administrator had us traveling in circles for days and made us backtrack our path numerous times just to avoid detection. Some of us were beginning to think he'd gone mad, but no matter how hard it got, we still followed him. As we suffered, he did as well, and it worked. When we finally got there, we were all accounted for. Not a single one of us had even a scratch to complain about. But when looking back at that moment, I do not know how we knew we were at our destination. It was like all of us simultaneously knew on instinct that we were there. When we went to the entrance, the pathway was cut off by mist and fog. We were too scared to go any further. Most of us didn't even know why we were there, and those who did were most frightened. But the administrator turned around and told us those who wanted to stay will not face any repercussions. He said it sincerely, without coyness or disappointment. After that, even if any of us were still scared, no one was going to let him go in there alone. Not after what he put us through in that journey. If anything was going to kill him, it'd be us. Let me resize this quick. There we go. Past the fog was a cave opening on the side of the mountain. Everything else was obscured by fog. After lighting our torches and entering, the feeling can only be described as suffocating. The walls and ground were smooth as calm water. Across them were carvings or pictures of some sort. They weren't amateur either. Every single one of them looked like they were made by a master craftsman. It was like everything around me had a purpose, and with that purpose it held power. As we entered deeper, we saw a light that forced us to douse our torches, and there it was. It moved up and down in the air with a rhythm, pulsing, breathing, and reforming itself over and over. It looked alive. It was an amazing sight, so amazing, in fact, that we didn't notice until it got up. Just below the orb, obscured by its light, wearing purple and white robes, was a giant. Besides its head was a staff just as tall as it. It might have been sleeping when we got there. Maybe it was waiting. When we went, they went towards it, two of its four arms holding their staff. At that moment, I swear, it had the face of death. When we took out our weapons, preparing for the battle ahead. But then, the administrator just walked towards it like it was nothing, and took out a stick of his, and pointed at that thing. The giant suddenly stopped and just stared at him before placing their staff on the ground and kneeled. When it lifted its head, again, it was smiling. A little funky wording there, but that's fine. All right, let's see. SCP-7085-A is a 6-meter tall adolescent humanoid entity possessing androgynous features, and exhibits both female and male anatomy. Additionally, it possesses higher durability even for its size, 2 additional functional arms, and the ability to survive without the need for food or water. SCP-7085-A has extensive knowledge of anomalous phenomena and occult practices and claims to be in possession of further, currently undocumented anomalous attributes. When SCP-7085 was discovered, it was found to be surrounded by stone carvings and illustrations of unknown design and age. These artworks mainly consist of humans assuming a bowing position before a larger one, while others showcase the smaller humans giving gifts to the same large figure. In the main area where SCP-7085 was discovered, on the ceiling was a depiction of several figures surrounding one another, holding up a four-armed, multi-eyed child to the sky. Addendum: SCP-7085-Progress Report. Since the initial discovery of SCP-7085, the information emitted from it has become more coherent and useful. The ways of receiving this information are now more direct, either being relayed on nearby writable material or, if applicable, directly into the thoughts of personnel present. A sample of notable information acquired from SCP-7085 is provided below. The table is Designation, Information, and Usage. SCP-7085-8, Thunder Iron. Information regarding mixing metals, occult, and thaumaturgic materials to create a potent iron alloy. And the link goes to MCD Thunderbolt Iron. I don't know what that is. It's it's an MCD item, so who knows? Its thaumaturgic and occult potential exceeds its normal variant, allowing the creation of several rituals and mechanisms that are stronger and more cost-efficient. However, prolonged use with exposed skin can induce a subject to develop a compulsion to eat it. If consumed, the subject would start to become physiologically dependent on the alloy to the point where their body would reject food and water. Usage: it has been found to be greatly effective in combating fairy, proto-nymph, and nymph clusters and infestations. Protective clothing for SCP-7085-08 is currently in production. Any personnel discovered showing symptoms of addiction are to be prohibited from any operations that involve SCP-7085-08. 7085-25. Schron's Mindbreakers. Anti-psionic mechanisms invented by Dr. Schron based on information retrieved from SCP-7085. Testing has shown that they can dampen or completely nullify the psionic abilities of both human and non-human entities. Consultant exposure, 12 to 25 days, can cause damage to the frontal lobe of these individuals, neutralizing them. SCP-7085-25 has been shown to be extremely effective against psionic base groups due to its uniqueness and ability to be used in an ambush. GOI-46, quote, Marist family, who has been openly antagonistic against the Foundation in the past, have been proven effective against them. Further experimentation to diversify this technology is ongoing. SCP-7085-76, Leth's Law. A set of mathematical equations and theorems that are based on emotion and imaginative concepts. When correctly utilized, the subject wielding the equation can mathematically turn theoretical and ontological concepts into sentient physical entities, allowing communication between unproven theories to take place. Interesting. Due to this, several new anomalies, techniques for containment purposes have been utilized. However, when SCP-7080 have been invented and utilized. However, when SCP-7085-76 derivatives are used, concepts that are outside current human processing can be learned and understood. Several research attempts to further understand these derivatives had to be halted due to the appearance of several extinct species, the disappearance of personnel spines, and the emergence of Redacted. Interesting. All safe information derived from SCP-7085-76 is currently being implemented to further strengthen Foundation operations. Currently, no further testing will be done on SCP-7085-76. All miscellaneous knowledge to use, it is currently being transferred to Secure Storage Facility TUMBA. All miscellaneous knowledge to use it is currently being transferred to the Secure Storage Facility TUMBA. Forward. Tumba. Forward. The interview was recorded with a primitive occult recording device known as a worm wheel. Foundation is damaged and sound may sometimes cease at random intervals. Okay. It looks like there's 7085-A and the administrator. You want to be 7085-A?
I'll take it.
Sure. Begin log. SCP-7085-A's arms and legs are chained to the back wall of the containment cell while several personnel are performing tests and measurements on them. SCP-7085-A remains unmoving as this occurs. The administrator sits on the opposite side of the room, tapping their foot. Answer my questions.
I have already answered these. Why not ask your men what I said? I have other things I wish to discuss with you.
I want to hear them with my own ears, not from your machine. Now answer me. Who are you?
Fine. I will play this game of yours. To answer your question, what am I, is complicated. In the past, I have been given many titles. The original philosopher, Kilon, bringer of the new dawn. But I think the one you want is my truest one. When I was born, my creators deemed me the Oracle, the first and last of the homunculi.
Oracle? Like the myths. You can see our future.
First, myths you speak of are nothing but tall tales. And yes, but not in the way you are thinking. It takes days to prepare myself for a vision. And even then, it still might not work. For when they do come, they come in the form of glimpses and checkered pieces. They are more akin to a fractured memory than anything else. In the past, they were much clearer. It would have been as if I was watching this conversion from just outside the window. But back then I was younger too.
Back then? When was the last time you had one of these visions?
About 60 years ago. It was of a dying star, reduced to almost nothing, crashing down into the ocean. It was quite sad watching it. It traveled such a great distance to just die alone without anybody even noticing it. Some might consider that a blessing, others hell. What do you think?
Stop trying to change the subject. Homunculi. I've seen homunculi before. They don't talk. They can't. And they aren't as coy and smug as you. You're no homunculus.
And who are you to determine that? You who knows nothing of what true homunculus is. I have seen this world's current process of creating homunculi, and it's nothing but a farce. To make a true homunculus, a true human, one must have a human soul. Not a stolen one, but one forged in the cradle of life and death. An art lost to you. Well, lost to you now. Your predecessors have tried many times to replicate one. The heads were always too big, if I remember correctly.
You talk like you knew of us before we even came here.
Of course I knew of you. When you can see the future, what do you think the dreams are like? The events of this world are my escape and nightmare. And your foundation is peculiar indeed. You were destined for greatness until you weren't. Lately, fate has been out of your favor until the engine called you. And I must say, you have been busy. Not a hint of slothfulness when it comes to the engine. How diligent of you.
So you were waiting for us. How long were you there? How long?
Aha! There it is. That face. When you first awoke me, I thought you were intruders. But when you took out that wand and pointed it at me, I must say I felt a shiver. You were actually going to try to kill me, weren't you? Where did you get that, by the way? Did you carve it yourself? I sense great power from it. Or maybe from its wielder.
Answer the question.
I cannot answer that. All I can tell you is that it was a long time. A very long time. You are not the first inheritors to appear, you know.
Inheritors? What are you talking about?
Yes, inheritors. The engine or the SCP-A, or am I the A? Your cataloging system is confusing. You should stick to numbers. Well, anyways, it chose you. Many groups, ones that can make you look like ants, were given this mantle. All were chosen, but none were worthy enough to claim it. Then here comes you, the administrator and the foundation. Out of all the kingdoms and empires of this world, it chose you.
So you're telling us that this orb, this engine, picked us out of everybody in the world to come take it out of that cave? Am I getting that right?
You can believe what you want, but it will not change reality, Administrator. I once had your sentiment as well. Why you? Why small, weak you? But I think I know why now. Unlike your predecessors, you fear the engine. I see it in your face every time you mention it. You do not see it as a tool to further your power, but as a weapon. You fear its potential and its hold on you already. It brought you out of the darkness, but it can put you right back into it if one is not careful. Ha! Your disposition makes you wonderful inheritors, but you have only scratched the surface of what it can do.
And what can it do?
Anything!
Ridiculous.
I do not lie. Can you not hear its song for you? Maybe you're not ready to realize its truth worth then. But know this. I am an ally. I was created to serve humanity, and what I see in you is nothing but that.
What are you talking about?
I can see your weariness as clear as day. And even then, when granted great power, you do not succumb to it. You think of your fellow man first. You'll come around.
Stop acting as if you know me, self-proclaimed homunculus. I do not trust you.
No, maybe not now, but in the future. I hope you see that your and my goals are not so different, and that you would stop examining me. Indeed, they are very thorough.
What makes you so confident that will happen?
What makes you so sure that it wouldn't?
Smug and coy. You're wasting my time. We're through.
Gone already? I was enjoying our conversation. But oh, one more thing though.
What?
May I have my staff back, please? It is very important to me.
No. End log. SCP-7085, to date, has continued to increase its informational output to the point where transfer to a larger facility has been proposed to store SCP-7085 and the information obtained from it. The proposal has been given more initiative as several cracks and damages were found in the interior of its containment area. Addendum 7085. Incidents. On July 28th, 1852, 87 members of the Morris family appeared at Provisional Site 03, demanding the return of property confiscated by Foundation forces in previous raids. When the Foundation did not respond, they attacked the site, killing the majority of personnel and capturing the rest. To de-escalate the situation, mediators from the Foundation, Joshua Cambrid and Jerlamerel Voss, were escorted by armed forces to negotiate terms of peace. Do you know how to pronounce that?
I have no idea. I go with Jerla Morel.
Yeah. GOI 46, Morris family, debrief. GOI 46 is a psionic group that is considered of blood relatives. They were once based around Eurasia until the main family moved to North America around 1728 to 1730. Since then, they have been acquiring and experimenting with various anomalies, including themselves. They are known to be highly aggressive to outsiders and have proven to possess great insight into combat tactics, specifically those of the occult and psionic kind. Due to this, they have been in conflict against Foundation since its founding, and are considered a high-class threat. After 14 hours of no contact from the diplomacy team sent to, diplomacy team sent to Site 03 came. I don't like the way that's worded. The administrator assembled a party of personnel equipped with new anti-psionic weaponry. The account of the event by one of the surviving personnel captured, Jerlamerel Voss, is provided below. The Maris family. I heard old tales of their barbarianism and warrior spirit in Europe and the Middle East. Hair with the color of fire and skin pale as snow. Fools in civilized society. Genius is in the field of battle. When we arrived there, the bodies were already laid across the site's ground. They were torn apart and pulverized into ground meat. I saw one of them eating the remains. When we finally met the main sect and tried to explain who we are, they just laughed and laughed at us. Well, until Dawn came. Don Creed Maris was an ogre of a man, 8 feet tall, muscle-bound from neck to toe, with scars running throughout his face and body. He didn't say a word when he reached out his hand and crushed Joshua's back. That's when the screaming started. I was thrown against the ground, and I watched as they ripped and shredded my friends with their minds. When they had their fill of the carnage, they had my hand smashed and tied me up right in front of the building with the others. They told me if they wanted us to see what they were about to do with the people coming to get us. I know the Mars family and the Foundation were never on good terms, really. The Foundation wasn't on good terms with anybody given our state back then, but still, to think they'd go this far. Because this wasn't just some excursion to prove a point. The elders, the children, the adults, and even their inbred mutants roamed around the site. They were planning to start a war with us and win it. It's embarrassing given my position, but I gave up and thought we were all going to be killed and eaten like cattle. I sat there accepting my fate like the coward I was until the sky ripped. They came pouring down like it was an act from God. With their weapons ready, Red Right Hand landed with the administrator right in front. I heard of his whole name before he was promoted to the Foundation, the hero of 5 worlds, the one who saved the Foundation from collapse countless times. Thought they were just hearsay and to bolster his reputation, but right then and there, he looked just like the stories. Our allies were outnumbered 5-1, but they didn't seem to care. The administrator told them, no more have to die. Give us our men back and we can arrange a compromise. He gave them his word that he will uphold this. Don responded by squeezing the head of a man beside me until it popped with a red and pink gush. It was a blur after that. They came upon the Morrises systematically, killing anyone who dared put up a fight. The powers weakened thanks to Schron's inventions. But some, like Dawn, didn't seem that affected. Alas, that didn't matter in the long run. I don't know what happened exactly next, but I believe I got the important parts. 4 of them, including Dawn, stood around the administrator. The administrator's wand glowed. They backed up. Dawn charged, but the administrator blocked him. There was a tussle. Dawn got a punch in, the administrator a kick. The wand glowed brighter, and then there was a boom. Then the dust cleared. Dawn's body was missing a head. It wasn't long after that the battle ended and the Foundation was victorious. I don't know what the Veiled World thought of us after this, but I know one thing for sure. Weak wasn't one of them. After the death of Don Creed Morris, the remaining survivors, which were mostly adolescents, were captured. When examined, 25% of the members showed physical ailments caused by inbreeding. The new head of the Morris family, Tiffany C. Morris, proposed a deal with the Foundation to ensure their family's survival. In return for the Foundation's assistance, the Morris family would give their services information about their obtained anomalies. These negotiations are still currently in progress. Around the time during the Morris family incident, SCP-7085's containment facility was experiencing rapid failure of its mechanisms. Reports of a constant buzzing sound were heard around the area. Believing this to be the cause of an attack from unknown members of the Morris family, the site went on lockdown. When no evidence of an external force was present, SCP-7085 containment cell was repaired and put on high alert. Investigation into the cause of this incident is ongoing. The next table is Date, Event, Aftermath. Date, April 29th, 1852. Event, the reclusive anomalous society known as the Illuminati was discovered to be using carcasses of deceased humans and animals to create animated chimeric life forms called Siren Men. They used these Siren Men as guards to protect anomalous artifacts and inventions in mainstream hotspots. Siren Head? After several civilians died to the Illuminati's presence in these areas, the Foundation offered assistance to store artifacts away from the civilians to avoid unnecessary casualties. The Illuminati then refused the Foundation's request and stopped any further form of contact. After deliberation, Theorem 5.2 of SCP-7085-76 and the Eye of SCP-7085-45 were authorized to be used, resulting in 12 Illuminati outposts fitted with Siren Men being seized by the Foundation and later deconstructed. Aftermath. The Illuminati began to retaliate against Foundation facilities to regain lost artifacts. Eventually, their forces were intercepted and terminated. Since then, the Illuminati has reopened negotiations. All right. March 7th, 1853. The remnants of the Cult of Null developed a human infovore in the Dominican Republic. The cult was planning on using the infovore to consume the business tycoon Tyler Marshall. They would have then used the collected information to create a sentient doppelganger of Marshall to take over his business and supply themselves with monetary resources to fund their endeavors. The conspiracy was discovered and stopped after the utilization of SCP-7085-65, which found missing pockets of information in the area's infosphere. All known members of the Cult of Null were captured and questioned for information about their other activities. After no further information could be acquired, they were traded with various groups of interest for further keeping. February 12th, 1855. SCP-7085 was recorded to produce an energy field originating from its center. Since then, it had begun emitting information at an increasing rate and producing audible sounds such as soft humming around its vicinity. Its containment cell had also begun to accumulate more malfunctions and damages to its mechanisms. Study of these properties are ongoing. Not applicable. Aftermath. Okay, back to the log. Begin log. SCP-7085-A is locked in chains that are connected to the back wall. The administrator stands in front, unaccompanied.
Alone this time. I cannot complain, though. I do enjoy these moments of ours. Even if you are angry half of the time, it is still much more enjoyable than sleeping in a cave.
I am here to talk about the engine. It's changing. You told me once that you wanted to help, so tell me, what is happening? Please.
Very well. As I said before, the engine grows as you do. The more you rely on it, the more it will expand. It must be getting loud now. And lonely, too. It's becoming frantic, like a child begging for a parent's attention. It must have given you the information to unlock it by now, has it not?
It has.
I see. I can help you. You don't need to be afraid. The engine was made by the best of humanity, the same ones who created me. Its purpose is to enrich your people.
And who are these people who created you? Every time we try to gain more information about this past of yours, you change the subject. What are you telling us, Oracle?
My past does not matter. All you need to focus on is acquiring the engine. You can easily prove the information it has sent you to be true.
Answer my question.
I have been answering your questions for a long time. And before I answer any more of yours, answer mine. What is your goal, Administrator? What is the point of this? Either way, you are still going to use it, no matter what I say.
This isn't how this is going to go.
But it is. I have obeyed every request you made of me. I have been more than willing to submit, but I grow tired too.
You have grown too comfortable here. Do you think you can just make demands of us and you'll get what you want?
Do you think these chains can keep me here? Do you honestly believe that? I stayed as long as I have because I believed in you. And I still do. But I see what you're doing. You're going to die if you continue.
Is that a vision?
No, an observation. Rely more on the good graces this world has given you. Even after all it has done for you, you still fear it. The engine only wants to help.
You keep saying that, but I can't just take your word for it. I don't have the privilege of doing that.
Then what are you trying to do? Because right now, you are wasting your time.
What am I trying to do? Are you talking about your engine or in general? No, it's the same in the end. I'll tell you this. My goal as the administrator? No. As a human, ever since I came into power, was always one thing: the destruction of the Foundation. Every conspiracy, every lie, every death, every mistake I have to sign on. But it will never be enough. For every life saved by us, another takes its place. I saw what your engine gave us. Give us a fairy tale. It told us it can give us the power to stop this tragedy. When I was entrusted with this mantle, I also became responsible for every life we affect. I cannot trust things as quickly as you. Lives are on the line, and we do not gamble with them.
You really won't be satisfied, won't you? I hid my past because it would be nothing to you.
Sits down on the floor. Now you're talking.
It is only fair that I do now, since I know your fears more thoroughly. And what I tell you now, remember this. What happened was not because of the engine. In the twilight era of In the twilight of the first era of man, long after the creation of myself, no enemies laid before them. And so, with nothing else to fight, peace occurred. But with peace came a deathly calm. Men grew complacent with itself and sought out more to conquer. They spread out across the world and diversified, forgetting what made them whole. And then, when the last embers of connection broke, humans do what they do. They fought until one of them could claim dominion. But in the end, there was nothing else to rule over but ruins.
I don't get what you're trying to say.
What I am saying is don't let the past blind you. When I slumbered in that cave, I didn't just dream of the present, but of futures that could never be. I fooled myself into thinking they were real, and that mountain, that tomb, was nothing but a nightmare. But when I look at you, I see a dream becoming reality. Believe me or not, I have spoken nothing but the truth.
You're a fool. How can you claim to be so old and yet so naive? What will hiding the past do for us?
Perhaps so. You know, you're kinder than you let on.
What?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Right. So, if we do decide to use the engine at its fullest, how long will it take?
So you're actually doing it.
How long?
Depends on your resources. But with your determination, it shouldn't take long.
We're gonna need a whole lot more than that to pull this off. We're gonna need your help. But even I think you're betraying us, and I will end you. If even I think you're betraying us, I will end you myself.
Of course! I expect nothing less from you. I have not felt like this for a long, long time. I am truly grateful to you for this opportunity you have given me. But I would like to make one request.
And that is?
My staff.
End log. Proposal. Project Hummingbird. Addendum 7085-Hummingbird. Proposal Project Hummingbird. Details. Information recovered from SCP-7085 has given groundings to SCP-7085-A's claims of its true capabilities. At the time of writing, SCP-7085 has been discovered to have an expanding energy field that is currently encompassing the majority of the northern hemisphere. Current projections predict that this field will envelop the entire planet in approximately 10 months. Research into SCP-7085's field revealed it to have a negentropic and entropic properties simultaneously, resulting in the ability to interact with everything inside its field on a structural level. It is currently unknown how SCP-7085 is capable of this, but it is theorized to be the result of the information it has stored inside itself and converting it into energy using the mathematical laws of SCP-7085-38, SCP-7085-47, and SCP-7085-46. If the project is approved, the Foundation will begin developing an apparatus that will stabilize this field and allow the Foundation to control it. In the event of the failure or inability to control SCP-7085, Type 5-dimensional wormhole locks, ways, have been set and are to be used to envelop SCP-7085 and to relocate it into a fitted containment cell in Level 9 of Tumba. A combat force is to be on standby for any archonic entity manifestation or residue due to the Way's use. Approved by the following HEPTA Council members: Thomas Kahn, Director of Site 05, Gerald Morel Voss, Head of the Department of External Relations, Lund Sean, Head of Enigmatic Research, Caleb Marigold, Director of Site 02, Donald Lantoid, Head of the Containment Department, Joseph Bond, Director of Site 06, Luther Zander, Administrator. With the assistance of SCP-7085-A, Project Hummingbird was started. From the Foundation's research and information given by SCP-7085-A, the majority of the materials needed to construct the device were already in Foundation's possession. However, 4 major components were required. The components needed were: 1. An energy source powerful enough to exhibit a field that can survive SCP-7085's own field. 2. A processing mechanism that can function both as an equalizer to the device and store all of its physical and non-physical values. 3. An occult mechanism that will allow stabilization of energy given off by the recycling process of souls. And 4. A transparent concave optic structure that can still maintain its structure and magnified energy fields. These components would have taken decades to develop with the Foundation's current technological standing. As such, analogs were recovered from elsewhere. 1. A suitable source was found in the anomalous city-state, the Summer Courts, concealed and hidden in a pocket dimension inside Northern Europe. With the use of several anomalous items, its location and entry were discovered. The inhabitants of the city were hostile to Foundation forces, but due to their deteriorated state and partial transformation into nymphs, along with the use of SCP-7085-80, the resistance was insufficient to prevent the item's discovery. 2. Information retrieved from the remnants of GOI-46 Mars family revealed that the GOI-43 Salem family, a psionic group who have dealt with the Marses in the past, possessed an alchemically created artificial brain. This brain had the anomalous capability of storing large amounts of information that GOI-43 imprinted upon it, and was believed to have limitless storage. When questioned on the purpose of this item, they refused to divulge any further. The item was shown to be capable of containing and storing knowledge suitable for Project Hummingbird. After negotiations with the relinquishing of SCP Redacted and GOI 43, the item was obtained. 3. Recovered after combative incident involving the administrator and several members of Red Right Hand against the Anomalous Society Knights Templar. 4. Discovered after SCP-7085 gave the location of ruins located in Redacted. These ruins were composed of flesh and metal with bodies of preserved humanoid entities embedded in them. In the center of this area was the item. Surrounding the item were 7 glass orbs designated 1 through 7, and murals of humanoids bowing down before 7 entities, creating a multi-eyed chimeric creature. After the item was recovered, several of the structures began to move and vocalize. On the orders of the administrator, the entranceway was destroyed and all records to travel there were expunged. Begin log. SCP-7085, while emitting a constant humming sound, is being lowered onto the mechanical apparatus. Wires and coils are seen in the area connecting from and to the apparatus. Electricity is visible, seen sparking throughout the mechanism. Dr. Schwann, with 3 personnel, oversees Project Hummingbird. SCP-7085-A is seen sitting with their staff in their lap while being chained to the back of the room, while the administrator stands beside them. Other researchers scurry around the area.
Isn't it beautiful?
Not in the slightest.
Oh, that's right. To you, this was the source of your misery for quite some time. Now, it will be your greatest tool.
Then why the face? I swear. After all this, you better not.
No, it's nothing. I'm just scared. Everything I've been waiting for since that time is about to be completed. You are about to receive the majesty of humanity's greatest accomplishment. My hands are near numb from the anticipation. It's just that it all feels wrong.
You're waiting for something bad to happen. When things go well, the idle mind automatically turns to the worse. It is what soldiers go through all the time, but sometimes things go as planned. In those rare moments, nothing bad has to happen. Relying on your visions made you anxious.
Maybe so. Then why do you have that look then?
Expecting the worst, of course.
So, what will happen after this? What will you do?
The same as always. Even if this thing can do anything, it doesn't mean it needs to be used for that. It's not a savior. It's a weapon. That's all it will ever be. But it will make our job easier. SCP-7085 begins to glow and change form more rapidly for several seconds before resuming normal activity.
I don't think it is like that at all. Not at all. So, what will happen to me after this is done?
I thought you didn't care what happened to you. The same. You helped us a lot. We can't allow you to roam free with that body and mind of yours. I can make it as comfortable as possible, though.
Well, thank you. I cannot really expect any more than that, can I? But that too is fine. I was worshipped once, you know. They called me the Child of Dreams. Temples were erected in my name just so they can ask me their questions. To predict the weather, to know the time of death of a loved one, or if they would one day find purpose in their lives. They adored me for it. My words were treated as truth, and they shaped their lives around them. To know the future is to know the beauty and chaos of creation. A friend told me that once. I speak too much. What I am trying is to not let the engine control you. Never make it your source of pride or last resort. Even if this does fail, and you despair over it, get up. You are not shaped by it. Your foundation is worthy enough.
You don't need to worry about us. But I don't say this to people, or in your case, anomalies. But thank you.
You are very welcome.
Sir, it's time. SCP-7085's apparatus begins to glow and a gust of wind is emitted from it. SCP-7085 then begins to spin rapidly and increase in heat, glowing red in the process. The humming sound grows in volume and is now heard around the area. The sound then slowly becomes audible, tangible words. It's speaking.
I see. So this is what it sounds like when it's accepted a new wielder. So this is its song.
Foundation.
Ooh, foundation. Ooh, foundation. That's enough.
The dust and dirt around the area of SCP-7085 begin to move and shift, forming patterns across the ground, walls, and ceiling. These patterns eventually form the Foundation symbol. The ground beneath the apparatus begins to shake to the point where the personnel present are visibly affected by it. It's increasing its energy output. The lens and information storages are in effect. The field is stabilizing. Good. Keep it up. Turns to SCP-7085-A.
The fall of Olympus occurred in the War of the Last. The Nosferatu have returned, and they bring fire upon the lands and death in the air. Release the engines of battle. Unleash the cods and bonds. Unleashed the end. Oh, Administrator, does it not sound beautiful? It sings your name in the loveliest tune.
Is something wrong? SCP-7085-A's head reels back as they begin speaking in an unknown language.
Oh, you do like to contain, but that cannot be done this time. I am afraid that we might have been a little off in our efforts.
Oracle, are you with me?
Administrator, we were wrong. I was wrong. These images, my mind is full of thoughts and images. We have to try another time. No, not even. I see.
SCP-7085-A stands up, releasing their chains in the process. Before any personnel could react to this, they pounced on SCP-7085 and slammed their staff on it. SCP-7085 then begins to levitate out of the apparatus while the wires and coils are still connected to it and spin sporadically. Several small items across the ground then levitate in the air while streaks of electricity bounce across the walls and ground. Several moments later, SCP-7085 emits a wave of energy that pushes back the objects and personnel around them, excluding SCP-7085-A, who disappears when it hits them. After this, SCP-7085 emits another wave of energy that causes the malfunction and destruction of several devices in the area. Dr. Schwann activates the way locks. As they begin to glow, SCP-7085 emits another wave, deactivating them. Suddenly, SCP-7085 begins to glow a red hue and emit heat before the final wave emits from it, causing an explosion. The recorder is severely damaged, and the footage is distorted. Before losing all functionality, the administrator is seen standing up and screaming. End log. Addendum 7085. Recovery. After the failure of Project Hummingbird, SCP-7085 was moved to a new location. Its malfunction caused it to emit a massive temporal energy field that caused second to third degree burn injuries and the disintegration of several personnel close to the explosion. SCP-7085 now possesses several new cracks along its exterior. I can also hear myself. Change something? Better. No, not better. SCP-7085. I can hear myself still. Just letting you know. It's probably echoing in the stream as well. But SCP-7085 now possesses several new cracks along its exterior. Okay, it stopped. But still maintains functionality. Since this event, there have been an increase in anomalous activity around the world. Below is a list of notable and unknown events. Location: Minas Gerais, Brazil. Description: boiling rain occurs every 5 to 6 days across the eastern region. These occurrences have estimated to have injured at least 300 people. Disinformation campaigns are ongoing. Southern United States of America. Reports of a carnivorous entity that inhabits dark areas. Reports claim that this entity can instantly consume individuals via touching their shadow and enveloping them with their own body. This entity has been described as being shrouded in shadow and possessing a strong aversion to light sources. The link going to SCP-017. Oh. Earth. Anomalous information entered into the human conscious sphere. No, that goes again. Human conscious sphere to an unknown amount of individuals. This information mainly consists of thaumatic and occult practices, causing a rise in anomalous activity in civilian hotspots. To date, no information about the Foundation has been discovered by any authorities. Level 9 of Tumba. SCP-7085 continuously emits a humming sound. It also exhibits the ability to deteriorate the area around it. It's back at a rapid rate. The Foundation symbol has been found to be forming on the surfaces around it cracks along a long wall or manipulating dust piles. When these symbols are disrupted, they immediately begin reforming. Due to this, it has been moved to a hyperdense containment chamber. However, SCP-7085 effects are continuously growing stronger, and current containment is believed to be soon become ineffective. Yeah, I don't know what's doing that, but it's definitely audible for me, and slightly disruptive to my ability to speak because I can hear myself.
Tell me what you're hearing again.
It's I hear my voice like a half second. Like is it coming to you? Are your speakers maybe too loud? Is it looping back in?
Let me try muting this on my side here. Talk after I say this.
Site SCP-7085-A's whereabouts remain unknown as to be considered unneutralized. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So the current situation, I'm going to update the stream right now since we're stuck anyways. The YouTube to my house connection is having an internet problem right now. So what the audience is seeing is skipping frames and audio jumble, jargle, whatever. I've got a yellow alert here that says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, which happens time to time, but when it's a longer delay, that means we get in trouble. And what you are hearing is that periodically Zoom, which we're using to pipe you in, is piping in through my laptop microphone, whereas the stream is hearing my main microphone. So when my camera mic is active, if the noise canceling on Zoom fails, you hear yourself right here.
Gotcha.
And that only happens when the internet is having problems, because it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, I'm definitely still hearing that.
So I need to remember to mute myself to you if we're doing a long read of you and that happens.
Right.
And then, thankfully,
as long
the
as
stream's
it's
not hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all that matters, as long as it's coming through clearly to them.
But hopefully hopefully this little internet storm goes by and I can fiddle with some of the tech here. Lower your encoder settings. Ensure you don't have any other apps open that are heavy on the CPU. Enable performance mode. All right, let me see if I can fiddle with that while you keep it going.
Sure. Letter was given to all Foundation facilities and outposts on January 5th, 1856. Times are hard. For the past few months, I've asked every single one of you to give even more of yourselves to the Foundation's greatest mission, protecting this world from the dark. You are tired and desperately in need of repose, and yet you still fight. For that, you may have my greatest gratitude. And now we face our greatest threat, maybe since our founding. The world is in chaos. Anomalies have increased tenfold, and we have no choice but to respond in full. As I write this letter, all around the world, the Foundation is working together with other organizations who have similar goals to keep this madness at bay. Your sacrifices have not gone unnoticed and will not be unrewarded. I hope one day, when we finally get that day of promised rest, it will not be because of mourning, but for celebration. The Administrator. Envoy to the Administrator's Office. Classified Envoy to the Administrator's Office. Administrator, your statement for the cause, though short, was warm. I know you do not like doing these things, but until the mission is over. But you must know why I request you to say something. We trusted an anomaly and dearly paid dearly for it. Project Hummingbird must seem done to you, but I tell you now that it is not. Maybe the only hope we have left. Really? On that day, SCP-7085 was damaged, and we did not realize it contained so much power. It is just as -A said, it can do anything. The increase of anomalous activity and the appearances of these creatures is proof alone. If it wasn't for that betrayal, we would have eliminated every anomaly in the new world. We are so close to victory. All we need is one more push, just one more to reverse our failure. Dr. Schwann has told me the revised Hummingbird is almost complete. Everything will be ready to be sent in a couple of weeks. However, for it to work, we must go back to where we found it. That place seems to have the properties that help stabilize the orb naturally. No wonder it was there. It was the best place to contain it. We'll soon be sending a team there to set up the operation. I assume you will also be leading this. You are strong, yes, but you are also our leader. We cannot have you lead our men to battle and one day not have you come back without a successor in place. I know you feel guilty, but you are not the only one who voted on that day. We all partook in that failure. You have saved countless lives, including mine, and continue to do so. So please, don't carry this burden on yourself for your sake and the Foundation's. Gerla Morel Voss, head of the Department of External Relations. Addendum SCP-7085, Retribution. On December 23rd, 1857, the Administrator, with the assistance of personnel Florud Tone, led a team of 12 to escort SCP-7085 to the location of its discovery. Accompanied by this mission was a portable worm wheel that will be used to record the events in case of malfunction or failure. Not sure what a worm wheel is, but it's fine. Let's see. Begin log.
They mentioned worm wheels earlier. That it's what
Yeah,
they're
but
used to record for some reason.
they didn't explain them. They didn't
Yeah,
explain what it was. As the group enters the passageway to where SCP-7085 was first discovered, the area is seen to be in a greater state of disrepair than was present last time. SCP-7085 grows brightly and emits a loud humming sound. As it is the team continues forward, the structure around them begins to form cracks on the exterior as SCP-7085 passes them. When they enter the main space of the cave, fog is observed inside it. The instruments delivered there early are seen scattered across the grounds, severely damaged. In the back of the room, sitting down on the floor, is SCP-7085-A holding their staff with 4 of their hands. You want me to...
Hello, Administrator. You look terrible.
Sir, that's leave. But, sir, we can't leave you with that. Go. Get back up. I'll hold it off until then. But that's an order, Tone. Now go. The 12 personnel slowly leave the area, dropping the worm wheel and SCP-7085, and exit.
A bit dramatic, but okay. So, how have you been? That looks like a new scar on your face. You've been fighting more, haven't you?
How are you still here?
I was hoping you knew that, but it seems that we are both confused. My theory is maybe the engine grew affection for me. I had been with it for so long that it couldn't bear killing me, even after I betrayed it. It's funny, really. This is the place it sent me.
SCP-7085-A stands and slams its staff against the ground, clearing the fog from the area. SCP-7085-A appears older and has several scars on its limbs.
When you were about to claim the engine, its song sparked something within me. A flame of youth. I had a vision as clear as day. I saw you and the Foundation. I saw what it will become and what will happen to this world. I saw a world meant for dreams and nightmares. I would have been satisfied staying there with my mind, but not after that. I had to return. Thankfully, the engine is not all-knowing or powerful in realms outside of its creation. You must understand me when I say this. I did not take pleasure in doing what I did, but if you knew what I saw and heard, then you would have done the same.
SCP-7085-A's hands begin to shake as they hold the staff.
Tell me, do you know how long I was gone?
To think I trusted you. I'm a failure.
No, you are not. The only thing that was wrong was us.
SCP-7085-A jumps towards the Administrator, who dodges. SCP-7085-A then grabs SCP-7085 and holds it in the air with 2 of their hands.
We are relics from the past. A past so old that even the Earth has forgotten it. Once, men had the power to reach for stars and take them. But now, they are weak and scared and seek power to make them strong and brave. They seek out old truths and old ways for their future. They are guided by the dead. I once thought you will be different. That you will be the ones to claim this majesty and finally surpass the old era. but only with your strength can you do that.
You looked me in the eye and told me that you can help us, that it will save our people. You're just talking nonsense.
Do not mock me! You know exactly what I'm saying. It was only by chance the engine chose you. Countless eras, countless kings, and countless children were chosen by it to take it whole, and all fell before it. And yet you came so close to taming it. What I saw is the outcome of this so-called mastering of the engine. It was a world without will, a world without humanity. No more! Let it end!
SCP-7085 begins to glow more, while the area around them begins to experience seismic activity.
I'm sorry, my little friend, but it's time for us to go.
Oracle, don't you dare! SCP-7085-A throws SCP-7085 in the air. SCP-7085-A staff then begins to produce a fire of white and purple hues that engulf SCP-7085-A and SCP-7085. SCP-7085-A then uses its staff to hit SCP-7085 in its center, splitting it into fragmented pieces. The seismic activity around the area and SCP-7085 properties begin to slow down and suddenly cease altogether. What have you done? Thousands, millions will die because of you.
Yes, they will. But you will be there to stop that. You will do everything in your power to prevent it. Sometimes you will win, sometimes lose. But it'll all be because of your actions, not anyone else's.
The administrator pulls out a wooden wand that is decorated with carvings. It then begins to glow a blue hue that envelops the whole room. Just be quiet.
As you wish. But remember this. I am the Oracle, the first and last of the homunculi, the final rebis, made to serve humanity. I am a tool that dreams, and you are the administrator, the leader of the Foundation, the man who fights the dark.
SCP-7085-A staff fire begins to increase in size rapidly as the administrator's wand begins to glow to a point of obscuring the worm wheel. As they both begin to walk towards each other, SCP-7085-A begins to sprout eyes across its face and body.
Show me, Administrator! Show me all of it!
When they meet each other, a sudden roaring sound occurs, cutting the feed for several minutes. When it returns, the worm wheel is located on the other side of the room where SCP-7085-A is seen with a massive hole in the side of its abdomen. The administrator is seen standing atop the body with his arm burnt while clutching a broken stick. When the administrator exited the cave, he was immediately escorted to receive medical attention. Shortly after this event, the remains of SCP-7085 and SCP-7085-A were recovered. Attempts to repair SCP-7085 to its original functionality have failed. Addendum: SCP-7085-plaque. Near the entranceway towards SCP-7085 location was a plaque made of stone and believed to be written by SCP-7085-A and is transcribed below. How it appeared in the area is currently unknown. If you are reading this, I am dead. If you are reading this, I am dead. I apologize for what must seem like a sudden betrayal, but I assure you, what I do is for the whole of humanity. The passages of time assume power based on the illusion that since they are old, they are also needed. The time has come for a new era, free from the old, to begin. What I saw and what will happen will change this world for the better. But there will be suffering and there will be pain. When that happens, it will need something like the Foundation and men like you in it, Administrator. In those times, you must hold conviction to your ideals and passions, never straying, always fighting. Have pluck. Luther. Some of that didn't really parse out right. I think they needed to do some more revisions and go through it and read it out loud themselves, because a lot of the sentences were kind of clunky and didn't exactly pan out right. And this is radioactive rads. They're they made other stuff here, so it's not like a first article.
This story suffers from actually the reason that I liked the previous one. Even though the previous one wasn't like super finished or even well done, it at least told a story that I got like really clearly. This is what they're aiming for. These are the plot beats. I understood it. Most of this time, I had been sitting here trying to figure out what the hell story we're telling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the final battle, which I did have fun with, that I realized, oh, what we're doing is the Foundation are the Templars in Assassin's Creed. And the Oracle has been helping them this whole time until he discovered that if they get maximum power, then they'll take away free will. But I don't really see where that has been, like, thematically toyed with in the rest of this.
Yeah, you're right. And they even brought up the Knights Templar and like tangentially, like very, very briefly, and it was not in context of the Foundation or anything. So that kind of pulled away from that. But I do agree with you that that's definitely what they were going for.
So what I would say my overall statement on this article is you've got a little bit of good ideas in here, but it really needs a restructuring and a centering on what your main story is.
Yeah, and just
besides like fundamental spelling, grammar issues.
And just bringing it up to parity, like there's just things where it's like, okay, like the addendums, there's an EM, like it's small things, but like there's an EM dash between 7085 and then the name of the addendum, and then the last one has a regular hyphen. It's like these small things build up over time, and it kind of gives it a messier look. But overall, the story there, it's pretty good. I mean, I don't know what a lot of like the things, like they bring in elements and I'm like, I don't know what this, like the worm wheel, like the way it ended up on the opposite side of the room after the battle, like you should explain why that's significant, because I don't really know what the size of the worm wheel is when he says it grows larger than the worm. What is that? What is a worm wheel? I don't know. Put a footnote the first time you mention it, and then I'll know what you're talking about. But I don't know.
I agree with that. I want a footnote for what a worm wheel is.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't sound like a bad idea, like to have some sort of anomalous recording device for things that can't be recorded by normal stuff. Isn't this back in like the 1700s in some places?
Yeah. This one was in 18 something or other.
1851.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So like you can even bring in like Foundation remote viewing programs like Rainbow Astra. Like they've dabbled with that stuff in the past. But yeah, like I don't have any problem with them using an occult recording device as long as they explain what it is. Like they don't even have to explain what it is, just don't make it a relevant thing later on and then be like, well, it grew bigger than the worm wheel. Oh wow. Like what is that? What are we talking about?
So yes, author, my final word, this is a downvote, but a kind take this back, shop it up a little bit, because I like what you're going for. It just needs structuring.
And the picture looks really cool. Picture looks neat.
That is a cool picture.
Keep the picture. It's a good picture. All right.
Yeah, once I like got to the ending like act and I'm knowing what's going on, I got into it because like these guys have built a friendship over time and betrayal and stuff, and that was interesting.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Before we move on to our next article, we'll take a quick ad break for the GoFundMe of Dr. Cimmerian.
What a great guy, Cimmerian. He needs your money. He needs it. It's vital that we get him your money. Whatever you have on you, stick it in your CD drive. It goes right to Cimmerian. And when you do that, we can assure you that we are focusing that money on the destruction of all the trees on the planet.
Because do you see this room? Do you know what Dr. Cimmerian was storing in that bedroom? Do you know what those trees released upon humanity?
I don't, but I can imagine, and I'm sure it was expensive.
And so the trees will have vengeance wrought upon them, but only if you donate to the GoFundMe to help us finance that vengeance.
Yes. Help us. We are the Helpful Youth Deciduous Revenge Association. Call us 1-800-HAIL-HYDRA. Wait, are we bad guys? Oh, man.
Vengeance is a dish best served cold and with that really expensive truffles in gold foil that's edible. All the really expensive fixings go on the cold revenge.
don't worry, we're not destroying any other types of plants or anything like that. So if you want to get your farming in, you want to grow some stuff, go ahead. But trees, right out.
Also, some of our other ad breaks for the day. You can go check out the second episode of Redacted on the Lot 1 Productions YouTube channel. The episode is SCP-079, the old AI. She goes through it, man. She has a bad time, that AI. There's also a containment breach, as SCP things are apt to do, with a lot of cameos from the SCPs you're all going to know. So go enjoy that Cameo Fest action scene. Go over to Billith's Twitch to visit the Ghost Gang.
Oh yeah. We hop on there. We hunt ghosts all the time, multiple times a week usually. I'm just over there yesterday. There's a Halloween update for Phasmophobia. Come check it out. We might do a debrief after this stream, and we'll hang out with other SCP friends. We do that all the time, and it's a good time. Definitely check it out.
Head over to the Ghost Bashers after show.
Yes, the debrief. Sometimes we have Sherman on as well, and it's a good time. He only screams a little bit.
Only a little bit.
He learned his lesson real quick on that one.
I learned nothing, and I refuse to learn nothing.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, we are back with SCP-7019 by Attila the Pun. I'm already pleased by your author name.
That's a good author name, for sure. 7019.
7019.
Okay.
Oh, who's this handsome devil?
And that is, what's the name? Say. Come on, go back. Series 8. There we are. 7019 is Premonition.
Premonition. All right.
Bum, bum, bum.
Item number SCP-7019. Classification Level 4, 7019. Classified. Object Class Thaumiel. Special Containment Procedures. Due to concerns that his removal may compromise Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11's operational effectiveness, SCP-7019 is allowed to maintain his position until further notice. He is to be kept under constant surveillance. Experiments may be conducted under the guise of post-operation examinations. Personnel aware of SCP-7019's properties are advised to avoid contact with him or his subordinates unless otherwise instructed. Description: SCP-7019 is an adult male human by the name of John Vulpes. SCP-7019 is currently the commander of Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11, codename Nine-Tailed Fox. The Few the Proud. Pictured, SCP-7019, dated July 25th, 2022. SCP-7019 has consistently demonstrated tactical prowess that cannot be accounted for by normal means. Casualty rates on missions where SCP-7019 is in command are consistently below average, and he was the sole survivor of 7 different missions before his promotion to commander in 2020. Based on analysis of operational reports, this is almost certainly the result of some sort of anomalous clairvoyance. However, the mechanics of this property are currently not well understood. Due to security concerns, SCP-7019 and his subordinates are currently kept unaware of his classification as an SCP object. Background: official records indicate that SCP-7019 was born in Innsbruck, Austria, on December 27, 1991, and remained in this area until he joined the EKO Cobra, footnote, Special Operations and Counterterrorism Unit in the Austrian Federal Ministry of the Interior, in 2011. SCP-7019 confirms this, however, most of the references he provided denied personally knowing him. SCP-7019 was recruited from EKO Cobra in 2014 after his unit encountered an anomaly now classified as SCP-4-digit Redacted. He was the sole survivor. Upon recruitment, he was inducted into Mobile Task Force Zeta-9, codename Mole Rats, and temporarily promoted to Field Team Leader. Zeta-9 was experiencing a personnel shortage at the time due to high casualty rates, making SCP-7019 one of the few members with any leadership experience. This promotion was made permanent after his first four operations suffered half the unit's expected casualties, as well as achieving operational objectives. SCP-7019 was requested a transfer to Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 in 2017, citing psychological concerns. The transfer was approved. He was later promoted to commander in 2020. Under his control, Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 has seen a similar performance improvement to Zeta 9 and is now commonly used to train recruits for transfer to other task forces. However, there have been numerous formal complaints from SCP-7019 subordinates regarding his controlling tendencies and occasionally unusual behavior. Addendum. Date: May 15th, 2022. To Redacted at SCPnet. From Thomas Laurimore at SCPnet. Subject regarding John Vulpes. Dr. Redacted. I'm writing to express my concerns regarding Commander John Vulpes of Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11. I understand that there have been several complaints already lodged against him, most of which involve his odd demeanor and controlling tendencies. However, this warrants more immediate concern. Based on my analysis of operation reports and my observations of Commander Vulpes' behavior, I strongly suspect that Commander Vulpes possesses anomalous properties. I realize this is a very serious charge to bring against the Superior, but Commander Vulpes has consistently demonstrated knowledge that he would be unable to attain through non-anomalous means. Examples include knowledge of breaches before they have been reported, identifying the contents of uncleared rooms, and unusually extensive understanding of his subordinates' backgrounds. These tendencies would be difficult to identify from operation reports alone, most of which are written by Commander Vulpes himself and divert attention from these inconsistencies, but are much more evident when witnessed firsthand. I have attached a thorough analysis of operation reports to this email, which should dispel any suspicion that these incidents can be attributed to chance. While Commander Vulpes has proven himself to be effective, we cannot safely dismiss these concerns. His history suggests that he has exhibited these properties since before his recruitment. He also seems to be actively attempting to disguise his nature. If his own goals do not align with our own, his clairvoyant properties would make him a formidable adversary. Regardless of our feelings towards Commander Vulpes, we cannot afford to ignore the fact that a mobile task force is under the control of an unpredictable, anomalous humanoid. I hope you will consider this information carefully. Sincerely, Captain Thomas Laurimore, Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11, codename Ninetail Fox, call sign Toad, Thomas Laurimore at SCPnet. Observation log. Date: July 28th, 2022. Media type: video. Subject: SCP-7019. Duration: 5 minutes 12 seconds or 5 hours 12 minutes. We'll find out. Notes: this footage was captured by a hidden camera planted in Epsilon 11's locker room to monitor SCP-7019. It encapsulates a conversation between SCP-7019 and Captain Liam Crispy Forsyth, one of his subordinates. Captain Forsyth worked with SCP-7019 in Mobile Task Force Zeta 9 and was later transferred to Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 at 7019's request. Begin transcript. SCP-7019 is leaning over a sink and looking at his reflection in the mirror. He is visibly shaking. Muttering and pained laughter can be heard coming from him. You want the anomaly?
Sure, yeah. Thank you.
John. SCP-7019 starts.
Oh, it's just you.
You okay, John?
I'd have preferred you didn't see that.
Better mean one of the others, at least. Tough day?
You could say that.
What happened?
The last OP didn't go so well. It didn't go as well as I'd hoped.
Yeah, I heard. Sounded like a mess.
I just keep thinking about Selenka.
The Kit? Footnote. Kit is an informal term used within Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 to refer to a rookie member.
Yes, him. He had so much potential. Then he panics, makes a wrong move, and before you know it, he's gone.
Makes you think of all the close calls you had yourself, huh?
Something like that.
Sounds like you need a vacation.
If only.
I'm being serious. You've been burning the candle at both ends for years now. You need some time off.
And leave Captain Laurimore in charge of everything? No thanks.
Why not? What's wrong with Toad?
They snubbed him when they gave me command over Nine-Tailed Fox. He's been a thorn in my side ever since.
Is this about your secret? There is a long pause.
How long have you known?
Toad told me a few months ago.
Jesus. Oh, We're in that timeline. What exactly did he tell you?
Not much. He told me that he thought you had some kind of anomalous clairvoyance after he looked at some operation reports.
Who else knows?
I don't know, but I haven't told anyone else about it.
If Toad knows, then he'll have told the higher-ups about it. God damn it.
I'm sorry, John. I suspected that something ever since the mole rats, but...
Of course.
Stands up straight.
If you have questions, ask.
Okay, how does it work?
How does what work?
Your clairvoyance.
Right. I could see not so much what will happen, but what might happen. Possibilities. Every choice someone makes creates a ripple across time. If I tell a squad to turn left, they obey, and if I hear their dying screams over the radio, I tell them to turn right, they obey, and they survive. Or they ignore me, and they die anyways.
So you can see the future.
In a sense. I see my own choices and their possible outcomes, up until my inevitable death.
How long have you been like this?
As long as I can remember.
So if you knew what would happen, you joined the Foundation on purpose.
Yes.
Why?
Because I knew what would happen if I didn't.
Why? What would happen?
I'm sure you'd rather not know.
Come on, you can't just say that and leave me hanging.
Remember what it was like to be set on fire?
How could I forget?
I know what that feels like. Or at least, something like it.
XK?
Most likely.
You're sure about this?
I've never been wrong before.
Jesus.
The exact date changes, but it usually ends the same way. Unless we follow one of a few very specific paths. I have to join the Foundation, I have to join Ninetales, so-and-so has to survive so that he can help stop this breach. The list goes on. I'm a walking tightrope. If I make a wrong step, everything around me burns.
So if you had to join Ninetales to stop whatever it is what causes it already in containment?
I've thought about that a lot. Frankly, I don't know. I know what events are important, but I can't see how any of it connects. It's all so inconsistent. Ninetales wasn't the only option either. It was just the most reasonable. So no, I have no idea what the underlying cause is, and all I can do is match what I've seen step by step and pray to whatever God will listen that nobody pushes me off.
You can't see what causes it?
I'm limited to my own perspective. Apparently, nobody ever tells me what it is. Maybe nobody else will know either.
Why haven't you told anyone about this until now?
You know where we are.
They have anomalies on the payroll, you know. If you're as good as you sound, you are a massive asset.
Most of these are already personnel before they developed anomalous properties. You'll also notice that they don't let them work directly with skips anymore, for the same reason you don't mix random chemicals together. I've seen what would happen if I spoke up. It's not impossible for them to accept me, but those odds are extremely remote. I'd at least lose my position as commander, and I can't risk that. Though, if Toad's been snitching about it, it may not matter anymore.
So, what now then?
Now that you know, I can keep you posted on what to expect. You've been a good friend, Liam, and I appreciate that. Keep following my orders, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that both of us come out alive. Though with Toad as a hostile agent, he's still useful, sure. But since that rookie died early, it may be you or him.
The rookie? What about him?
He worked at Site-228 before we came here. They hadn't even revoked his keycard access yet.
Site-228? What's at Site-220? SCP-7000 shushes him, looking at the door. A few seconds later, two agents walk in while talking to one another.
You know, Liam, you look tired.
What?
Why don't you take tomorrow off?
What are you... Oh, I see. You sure you won't need me?
Yes, I'll take care of it. Go take Mia somewhere nice.
Okay. Let me know if I can do anything to help.
I will. Enjoy your day off.
Take care of yourself, John.
Thanks, Liam. See you Saturday.
End transmission. The day after this exchange, July 29th, 2022, Mobile Task Force Epsilon 11 was deployed to respond to a mass containment breach at Site 228. While the operation was ultimately successful, 4 Epsilon 11 agents, including Captain Lorimer, were killed after becoming trapped in a maintenance corridor. They were unable to use the main hallways because they were not granted keycard access in time to prevent the breach from spiraling out of control, despite SCP-7019's repeated requests for emergency access.
Like, you want to give your thoughts first? I usually.
Okay, so anomalous Mobile Task Force member automatically scares me, just as a concept, as a cliche. This isn't a bad iteration of that, per se.
Mhm.
So I'm less like, I'm not like immediately turned away. You did make a hyper capable badass, but you did like let him fail to save everyone. So we're like towing that line of the cliche character here, but it's not, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess what's most egregious to me is that it's very thin on like the story besides introducing us to this thing existing and what it is.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy, but yeah, that's exactly what I was.
There's a guy, he seems like he's got anomalies. Oh, he does. And we get an interview where he tells us what he is. I would prefer if like with Weddle Sweep, we got like stories and like background and events around the thing, not just like, here's a dude, what's my power? Oh.
He's badass. He can see the future. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, no, not, we need more emotion, more characterization in general. I was also afraid that I was like, is this a self-insert Mary Sue type MTF agent?
It's always
anomalous?
Hard to tell. Or no, it's actually quite easy to tell many times.
It's hard to tell that it's not when it is. Yeah, same vibe. I mean, it was written fine. No problem with the writing there.
Yeah, the writing and structure are clean. I think my only problem is I would like more to have happened. Yeah. But this is a no vote for me. It's kind of neutral.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be the same way because it's well written. It's just there's not a lot happening. We need more. Author, add more addenda. Okay.
Man, we're getting the not terribly long ones today.
Yeah, this next one's not long either. I looked ahead and it's quite short. It's got a cool little graphic thing going on. I like it.
7200.
7200, and the name of that one is let's see, jump to it. Boats with a hard lowercase boats with a hard stop at the end. Just boats. Like a lo-fi song. Just boats. Okay.
I apologize. I'm going to disappear to the restroom as you start this one off.
That's fine. Totally. SCP-7200. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Mobile Task Force Theta 5. The bigger boat is to be dispatched to investigate any disappearances of registered merchant ships and to propose cover stories as appropriate. Any emitted radio signals are to be suppressed using standard procedures. Update, July 4th, 2022. Project Convenient Flag has been implemented and is demonstrating promising results. Reclassification to Euclid and updates to containment procedures are pending final review by the Containment Committee. See Addendum 7200-3. Description: SCP-7200 is an anomalous phenomenon causing the disappearance of non-military ships in international waters. When a vessel is affected by SCP-7200, it unexpectedly changes heading and increases speed, occasionally dumping cargo to do so. All attempts to hail or remotely operate the vessel have failed. Typically, shortwave radio transmissions are also found originating from the ship containing a vocalization described by listeners as an unpleasant shrieking sound. Memetic analysis does not find the audio signal to be anomalous, but notes that there may be possible cognitohazardous properties which are not preserved over radio. Several hours into the event, the ship's transponder turns off. Past this point, no vessel has been detectable through any known means and is effectively unrecoverable. In the first year since the anomaly's emergence in April 2016, the likelihood of an SCP-7200 event affecting a vessel was approximately 0.006% per year. Since then, the probability has been steadily increasing, measured most recently as 0.072% per year in December of 2021. We've got 3 pictures here. Discovery, SCP-7200 occurrences during 2016, and there are 4 dots. Current, SCP-7200 occurrences during 2021, and there are 20 to 30 dots. Projected, SCP-7200 occurrences projected for 2026, and there's maybe 70 dots. Who knows? I'm not counting them. Addendum 7200-1. Containment attempts. Codename Side-Eye. Failure. Summary. Place sensors aboard 20,000 merchant vessels to continually report anomalous activity and attempt to determine the cause of SCP-7200. Result. Sensor data from lost ships is inconclusive. Following the loss of the vessel, the sensors cease to report further information. Codename Event Horizon. Failure. Summary. Recruit and train E-Class personnel aboard 100 merchant vessels with equipment for navigating a number of different anomalous environments. Result. 18 ships with personnel lost in SCP-7200 events, yielding no new information. Operation is aborted. It's a high rate. Codename Escort Mission. Failure. Summary. Ships from the Foundation Navy, disguised as various nations' militaries, escort high-value container ships with orders to intervene during an SCP-7200 event. Result. 2 incidents occur wherein a container ship is subject to an SCP-7200 event while in the presence of the Foundation Navy. 1. The compromised ship suddenly takes a sharp turn in front of a Navy vessel. The vessel manages to avoid a collision, but numerous shipping containers fall and land on the Navy vessel, damaging it. The vessel is unable to sustain a chase, and the container ship escapes. 2. 2 Navy vessels are straddling both sides of the container ship, which then undergoes a SCP-7200 event. Foundation vessels give chase for 2 hours. The vessels then adopt a strategy of attempting to damage the compromised ship's navigational and propulsion capabilities, with limited success. After 11 further hours of continued pursuit, the ship escapes despite serious hull damage. Codename Trojan Seahorse. I like it. Failure. Summary. 50 unmanned merchant vessels are purchased, loaded with conventional explosives and limited paranormal weaponry, and deployed across the ocean. Ship computers are programmed to detect an SCP-7200 event and attempt to locate and destroy any anomalous objects present. Result. 1 such prepared vessel undergoes an SCP-7200 event. It then immediately fires all its weapons directly overhead, causing severe damage and resulting in the ship capsizing. Rescue teams are unable to prevent the vessel from sinking. Remaining vessels are quickly recalled. Codename Sea Nuke. Denied. Vetoed by Overwatch Command. Fair. Codename Convenient Flag. Ongoing. Summary. See below. Results. Loss of commercial vessels has been steadily declining over the implementation period. Addendum 7200-2. Project Convenient Flag. The Foundation External Affairs and Intelligence Agency, after negotiation with the Panama Maritime Authority, established a special SCPF designation for a class of merchant ships registered in Panama. This class is available for containment use only and have relaxed requirements for vessel size, shape, and build quality. As part of SCP-7200 containment operations, the Foundation has established 4 facilities in Panama, 1 registration depot, 1 hatchery, 2 farms, with a combined approximate area of 150,000 meters squared. The fish production facilities are capable of raising tens of millions of oceanic fish annually. Within the registration depot, Foundation maritime inspectors oversee the registration of SCP-F-class merchant vessels. Due to the specific nature of this class, many steps in the registration of conventional merchant ships do not apply. It's a Wikipedia page for ship registration. For instance, ships have no requirement for safety or construction certificates due to their small size. As SCPF class vessels lack equipment for radio transmissions, signal suppression is unnecessary during SCP-7200 events. At maturity, fish are transported from farm facilities into the registration depot. In accordance with international maritime law, a Panamanian flag and the respective ship registration number are applied to each fish. Upon confirming the vessel's seaworthiness, the acting maritime inspector clears the fish for release into open ocean. Addendum 7200-3. Current situation. SCP-7200 events have continued to increase in frequency. However, due to the implementation of Project Convenient Flag, more than 99.98% of merchant vessels in international waters are SCPF class, which has reduced the disappearance of civilian ships to less than 0.3 vessels per year. Pretty easy one, quick and to the point. I kind of like the
stupid as hell, and I'm on board. Okay.
Yeah, I like them painting the Panamanian flag on the fish.
Yo, dog, what if the SCP is just us giving fish tattoos?
And also, we took over all of the world's maritime traffic. My bad. That's definitely a Foundation solution, I will say. And I like that they suggested like nuking the ocean.
Just nuke the ocean.
Yeah, that's funny. I like it. It's not though. It's well written. There was the An SCP that format was kind of abandoned part of the way through. I noticed when they did like one of the later ones had an A in front of it, but yeah, it doesn't matter as a small thing. But everything else is well written. It's all good. It's funny. I like it. Thank you, SMLT.
Good job, Smilt.
I like the graphic. That's a good use of the graphic.
Yeah, with the dots going on, I got to see that as I was catching
and
up.
like the fade between the tabs really helps the dots kind of fluidly come in,
so that you know that they're changing.
Yeah, it's nice.
Very cool. That brings us to SCP-7046. Let's see what we're looking at over here.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but I'll wait till we go to the article. So, okay, I'll say it. We're powering through them. There's a couple of collapsibles, but this isn't so bad.
The collapsibles make it bad.
Oh yeah, no, I see that. Yeah, the last one was pretty bad. Shouldn't have said it.
You're fine. I said it before the previous article.
That's true.
The both of us tempted.
Yeah.
All right, let me close these back up. Oh boy.
Oh boy, indeed.
Well, I'm optimistic. It's going to be a good story, and it's going to be worth this.
I think so. I'll be sure to help you out with that interview that's towards the end.
Oh yeah. All right. Positions. Item number SCP-7046. Classification Level 1. Unrestricted. Containment Class Safe. Disruption Class Dark. Risk Class Notice. Special Containment Procedures. North Lake Corrections, where SCP-7046 is located, is to be kept under armed guard. Unauthorized persons attempting to access the site are to be apprehended and transported to Site-63 for questioning. At the conclusion of questioning, they are to be administered Class A amnestics and released or placed in indefinite containment at the discretion of the site director. Description: SCP-7046 is a cell block in North Lake Corrections, an abandoned corrections facility near Winnipeg, Manitoba. When the facility was in use, SCP-7046 served as its low-security wing. North Lake Corrections was abandoned in October 1983 after a fire destroyed another cell block and heavily damaged the prison's administrative building. SCP-7046's anomalous properties are the result of thaumaturgic modification, which occurred approximately 6 months prior to its discovery. Its plumbing and electrical systems are fully functional, despite the building lacking any apparent source of water or electricity. Its exterior walls dampen sounds made inside the structure, preventing them from being detected by observers outside. These walls also display evidence of thaumaturgic modification, which once imbued them with a cognitohazardous effect that discouraged observers from entering SCP-7046. However, these modifications were deliberately disabled prior to the object's discovery and presently have no effect. Some cells inside SCP-7046 display no anomalous properties beyond those found throughout the structure. They appear not to have been recently inhabited, and their contents display damage and deterioration consistent with the object's 18 years of abandonment. However, at the time of SCP-7046's discovery, 296 of its cells were fully furnished and had been subject to further thaumaturgic modifications. These cells have been designated SCP-7046-1. Instances of SCP-7046-1 are resistant to damage. Their walls, floors, ceilings, and bars can withstand forces greater than 3,000 newtons and are unaffected by both high-caliber firearms and light explosives. At the time of SCP-7046's discovery, 251 of the 296 SCP-7046-1 instances either appeared to have recently housed or still housed up to 2 human prisoners. Each such cell is furnished with a bunk bed, a toilet, a desk, and a small television. The other 45 cells had straw covering their floors and contained troughs for food and water. These cells appear to have each housed a single bovine until shortly before SCP-7046's discovery. SCP-7046's mess hall houses SCP-7046-2, a large mechanical apparatus consisting of a 2,000-liter tank, a pump, a large ring-shaped pipe, a circular arrangement of 7 altars, and a disposal unit. The pipe's interior is inscribed with thaumaturgic symbols. Footnote. Many of these symbols have previously been found at Davite ritual sites. Pictured a corridor in SCP-7046. And the altars have been integrated into the structure of the pipe such that liquid circulating through it will make contact with them. Upon activation, SCP-7046-2 will pump the contents of its tank into its pipe and circulate them 7 times before diverting them into the disposal unit. The apparatus's interior is stained with human and bovine blood, DNA from which matches that of human and bovine subjects found on-site at the time of the object's discovery. At the time of discovery, SCP-7046-2 disposal unit contained 2,000 liters of a mixture of human blood, bovine blood, and water. Discovery. On January 13th, 2002, a Foundation agent embedded within local emergency services alerted the Foundation to a call requesting medical attention for 110 persons located in SCP-7046, each of whom had experienced severe blood loss. Foundation agents, including medical personnel, were dispatched to secure the site. When they arrived, the site contained 515 human and 45 bovine subjects. All but 12 of these human subjects were later identified as a missing person who had vanished from somewhere in North America during the previous 6 months. Footnote. Each of them had been last seen somewhere within 1,600 kilometers of SCP-7046. The remains of all 45 bovine subjects, along with 405 of the human subjects, were found near SCP-7046-2 and had been fully exsanguinated. The remaining humans were found inside instances of SCP-7046-1. These subjects had also experienced significant blood loss. Of these, 21 had expired prior to the arrival of Foundation personnel, and another 3 expired while in Foundation custody. The remaining subjects were successfully resuscitated and transported to Site-63 for questioning. The subjects' accounts were largely concordant with one another, and described them being abducted and held inside SCP-7046 by a small group of individuals who forcibly extracted blood from them at weekly intervals. Descriptions of this group's apparent leader match Cassidy Redwood, a person of interest who was at large when SCP-7046 was discovered. For transcripts of these interviews, see Interview Log 7046-A. Upon the conclusion of their medical treatment, survivors were treated with Class C amnestics and returned to their families. By the time treatment of survivors had concluded, information leakage by Cassidy Redwood had made the public aware of many of the mundane facts surrounding their disappearances, which forced the Foundation to employ a cover story that was compatible with these elements. Therefore, the The survivors' memory loss was explained by the claim that Redwood had kept them in medically induced comas for the entirety of their captivity. Addendum 7046-1. On January 13th, 2002, shortly before the discovery of SCP-7046, Agent Redacted, an undercover agent embedded within Group of Interest 3088, the Church of the Second Hytoth, alerted the Foundation to a general notice issued to the group's members by its leadership. A sidebar, tangent, great frickin' reason to redact an agent name when they are hidden because they are undercover with a group of interest. That I appreciate. Good job. Good job,
Yeah.
author.
Yeah.
Show material. All Ortothans here. We regret to bring you grave and lamentable news. Church leadership has discovered that Cassidy Redwood, Ive-Agmact priest of the Winnipeg Ortothan Church, has committed the greatest of blasphemies. She has betrayed her office, the Church, and the Holy Fourth by abducting hundreds of outsiders, who she is holding in an unknown location so she may harvest their unwilling blood for blasphemous sacrifice. Her guilt is not in doubt. Less than 1 year ago, Miss Redwood petitioned church leadership for assistance with a ritual that would have required recurring blood offerings by just over 500 participants. In the months since, she was denied Ortothan blood for this purpose. A pattern of disappearances has afflicted a large area centered around Winnipeg. These vanishings have been too similar to lack a common cause. Most victims have been young men. Every victim has lived alone, and all have disappeared from their home during the night, leaving no sign of a struggle. However, the large size of the area in which the vanishings have taken place precludes the idea that their common cause is mundane. When a band of warriors arrived at the Winnipeg Ortothan Church with orders to detain and question Miss Redwood, they found that she had fled after receiving advance warning of their approach. The church regards this flight as an admission of guilt. Cassidy Redwood is to be regarded as a traitor, blasphemer, and a fugitive. All the faithful are directed to provide any information they possess which might aid in her apprehension, and are warned that all who aid or shelter her will join her in receiving the church's justice. May the Fourth be eternal. Koru Archpriest, Thera Ontius. Immediately after Agent Redacted reported this message to Site Director Forrester, Mobile Task Force Omega-22, codenamed Clotting Agents, was mobilized to locate and apprehend her. Shortly after interrogations of the survivors from SCP-7046 began, Site Director Forrester noted the apparent relevance of this notice to SCP-7046. Addendum 7046-2. Recovered materials. On January 14th, 2002, Agent Redacted was instructed to infiltrate Cassidy Redwood's office at the Winnipeg Ortothan Church in hopes of obtaining clues as to her whereabouts. He succeeded, obtaining several documents and accessing Redwood's computer. On said computer, Agent Redacted found records of correspondence between Cassidy Redwood and Group of Interest 3088's leadership. A selection of these materials is presented below. Those wishing to access other materials recovered from Redwood's office should contact Site Director Forrester. Show recovered materials. Date, January 5th, 2001. From Redwood Cassidy at secondhytoth.org. Regarding proposal. Venerable leaders, I hope this finds you well, and I thank you for your willingness to hear my proposal. As requested, I am sending a written outline of said proposal ahead of my presentation on January 10th. As you examine this material, you will no doubt note that my proposal is radical and ambitious. However, desperate times call for desperate measures, and we are currently living through the most desperate times in the history of our universe. The death of the Holy Six has left the universe with only one protector against the Vortoth threat, placing it in greater peril than it has ever faced. The ritual I have designed to reverse this situation is, beyond question, ambitious. However, it is also the culmination of months of intense study, calculation, and experimentation, which demonstrate that its efficacy, should it be carried out, is equally beyond question. Only now that I can demonstrate its effectiveness with such certainty do I dare present it to church leadership. as you have requested. The body of this email contains only a summary of the proposal, but I have attached a larger document which outlines its extensive theoretical basis. Footnote. Personnel with Level 3 clearance or higher may request access to any document mentioned in these materials. Resurrection of the dead is a long-solved problem in the field of magic. It is simply a matter of collecting life energy and channeling it into the remains of the entity you wish to raise. Even a novice mage can resurrect an insect by donating a small amount of their own life energy to it. Human resurrection requires more life energy than a single mage can safely donate, but it can be accomplished by pooling donations from many people. To be sure, the gulf between a human and a god is far greater than that between an insect and a human, but this does not make the resurrection of a god impossible. It only increases the amount of energy it requires. It might be said that the purpose of the Ortothan religion is to donate life energy in the form of blood to the Holy Seven to forestall their deaths. Altering our rites so they reverse death merely requires us to alter them to match existing resurrection rituals and increase the amount of energy offered. The ritual I have designed does precisely these things, and when enacted, it will restore your unloosened to life and return her to her full glory. As stated, a full technical explanation of this ritual and the reasoning behind it may be found in the attached document. As demonstrated in said document, a naive attempt to adapt known rituals to this project would require redacted liters of human blood, an amount which could only be safely extracted from 100 million people. Obtaining a sacrifice of that size is likely beyond our means. However, while researching the matter, I have discovered several ways to amplify the power of blood sacrifice so that a smaller offering might be sufficient to empower my ritual. Some of these methods may also be ways of increasing the efficacy of routine sacrifices, but I leave that matter to be explored later, along with the possibility that similar rituals might be attempted to raise the other 5 fallen members of Korutusa. Through consultation of various texts, including treatise on blood and life, and magical applications of bloodletting, a synthesis? Why don't I know how to say that word right now? Synthesis! Synthesis! A synthesis of diverse thoughts, I have discovered a method of recharging already offered blood with fresh life energy, so it may be offered again. Such recharged blood is less effective than fresh blood, and it becomes less and less effective as it is recharged and reoffered repeatedly. However, this process can still multiply the effectiveness of a blood offering by more than an order of magnitude. My calculations show that blood may be reused on 7 altars, 7 times each, before it no longer provides any additional benefit. This reduces the amount of blood required to perform the ritual to about redacted liters, which could be safely extracted from slightly more than 4 million people. This alone makes the ritual possible for the church to perform with its current membership. By use of altars made from magically significant material, including redacted, as is already done for some significant rituals, the effectiveness of sacrifices may be increased further, reducing the required amount to redacted liters, which could safely be extracted from 30,000 people. I have developed a technique to split the ritual into 14 stages, each of which would call for a portion of the required offering. By performing these stages at weekly intervals, ample time for its blood donors to recover, the number of people required to safely perform the ritual may be reduced to 4,000. Standard practice forbids the blood of non-sentient creatures from being used in Ortothan rituals, as this empowers the Holy Seven in a distorted way. However, lifting these restrictions and using bovine blood for a portion of the offering would make the ritual practical with a smaller number of human participants. This may cause intellectual deficits in the ritual's target, but, done in moderation, would still leave her with superhuman intelligence, likely making it trivial for him to reverse these deficits. Footnote. In Ortothan mythology, the divine is said to transcend gender. Consequently, Ortothans often switch rapidly between pronouns when referring to their gods. At my suggested ratio, this would allow for the ritual to employ the blood of 516 people and 45 adult bovines, none of whom would be lastingly harmed. Once again, I recognize the ambitiousness of this project, but I hope this outline in the attached document demonstrate that it is the product of careful calculation, not blind optimism. I further hope church leadership will regard it as worthy of their serious consideration and approval. The universe cannot be left with only a single protector. We must use any available means to restore the ranks of the Holy Seven, so they may continue their holy work. May the Seven be eternal. Ivimact Priest, Cassidy Redwood. Date: January 15, 2001, from Ontius Sphera at Second High Toth to Redwood Cassidy at Second High Toth, regarding your proposed ritual. Hello, believer. We thank you for the time and effort that went into the proposal you presented on Wednesday. Your presentation and the extensive calculations that accompanied it clearly show that your proposal is far more than a passing whim. We do not doubt that it is born from sincere and admirable concern for the Church, the Holy Seven, and the High Toth they protect. We have reached our decision only after a long and detailed analysis of your calculations, including a review of the theoretical materials you cited. A detailed account of this analysis is attached to this email. Unfortunately, that analysis revealed several conceptual failings in your ritual, which lead us to believe it would be ineffective. Your calculations severely underestimate the amount of life energy required to resurrect a being of your illusion's power. They also assume that restoring minimal vital activity to the Six would allow them to heal the remaining damage themselves with their own magic, but it is more likely that the energy would simply leak back out of her, just as it would if you were to infuse an analogously minuscule amount of energy into a dead human. Furthermore, the techniques by which you mean to recharge and re-offer blood are derived from Davite texts whose magical theory is not applicable to our rites. Indeed, the resurrection ritual you have adapted was likewise designed for vulgar blood magic, which may negate rather than modify the Otothan rite you mean to pair it with. Worse still, your proposal to use bovine blood is contrary to the Church's ethical principles, as no non-sentient animal could ever be said to willingly offer its blood. You are right to speculate that the improvements you propose, if effective, would be applicable to the Church's routine sacrifices. Indeed, if said improvements were effective, they would have been used in standard Otothan rites since the beginning of our religion. They have not been, because they are not effective. Therefore, we regret to inform you of our unanimous decision not to allocate any resources to your project. We understand this is likely disappointing, and we emphasize that we do not mean to insult or dismiss the work and expertise that went into your proposal. You are right to regard the present situation as dire, but extra danger calls for extra caution. The Fourth requires our help more than ever before, and we will not suspend regular offerings to her so they may be diverted to an unethical project where they would most likely be wasted. Thank you for understanding. May the Fourth be eternal. Koru Archpriest, Farah Ontius. Date, January 15, 2001, Redwood Cassidy to Ontius Farah, regarding your proposed ritual. Venerable leaders, I am indeed disappointed by your decision. I wish you had contacted me about some of these alleged flaws in my calculations prior to the conclusion of your deliberations, as I believe I could have resolved them to your satisfaction. Indeed, a document to that effect is attached to this email. That said, I respect your decision and its finality, and will not contact you further about this matter. May the Seven be eternal. Ivimact Priest Cassidy Redwood. Date, February 11th, from Glenn Marcus Sean, Second High Toth, to Redwood Cassidy at Second High Toth, regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. Fellow believer, I am contacting you because I have received inquiries from members of your congregation which indicate that you requested for their assistance in performing a ritual similar to the one you presented to church leadership on January 10th. As you'll recall, that proposal was rejected by the Council of Church Leaders, including myself, to whom it was presented. I am writing to clarify the previous rejection having apparently not been sufficiently stern, that you are forbidden from pursuing this or any other similar project in any capacity. Any further attempt on your part to arrange for your ritual to be carried out will be met with disciplinary action. The loss of the Holy Six has been trying for all of us, and I know that it has been especially trying for you. But you must not allow your grief to lead you to foolhardy and unethical behavior. The Church and I are here to support you as we all endure this loss. If there is anything we can do to help you, do not hesitate to ask. However, The matter of your ritual is settled, and I expect to hear nothing more about it. May the 4th be eternal. Grand Imact Priest, Sean Glenn Marcus. Date, February 11, 2001, from Redwood Cassidy to Glenn Marcus Sean. Regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. Venerable Leader, I cannot deny that I have discussed my ritual with members of my congregation. Leadership's original response stated only that the church would devote no resources to the project. You must forgive me for failing to infer that I was forbidden to pursue it in any capacity. Furthermore, with all due respect, I am not sure that you have the authority to issue that prohibition. My blood and that of members of your congregation is ours to give and withhold as we please. By what authority do you forbid us to use it for my ritual if we wish? My actions have made no use of church resources or my position as Imact Priest. I have merely approached people I know and requested they assist me with a personal project. If you could cite the bylaws which empower you to police such purely individual actions, I would greatly appreciate it. May the 7 be eternal. Imact Priest, Cassidy Redwood. Date, February 12, 2001, from Glenn Marcus Sean at 2nd High Toth to Redwood Cassidy at 2nd High Toth. Regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. Don't play games, Cassie. Your project involves the sacrifice of unwilling blood and is therefore contrary to our faith's most basic ethical principles. Just as you would not be permitted to offer unwilling human blood, even if you did so in a way that utilized no church resources, you are not permitted to offer unwilling bovine blood. Your proposal was not rejected capriciously. The technical details of why it would not work were thoroughly explained to you, and I know you are more than proficient enough in magical theory to understand them. I mean gods, Cassie. Davite texts, animal blood. Our initial response to your proposal was polite and formal, and it appears that this prevented us from communicating our disgust with what you were suggesting. Allow me to rectify that by speaking more bluntly. Your proposal is absurd in theory, blasphemous in practice. I understand you've not been around Second Messenger enough to be able to read his body language. Footnote. The extraterrestrial missionary responsible for introducing the Ortothan religion to Earth. But as someone who can, let me inform you that he was barely containing his rage the entire time you were speaking. At the beginning of our deliberations, I alone did not wish to discipline you simply for proposing what you had, but for my advocacy for you as a former apprentice and personal friend of mine. You would have lost your position as Imact Priest and possibly been stripped of priesthood altogether. Your proposal will not be entertained further, and if you take the slightest further movement toward it, you will not retain your position. I know you are grieving. We all are. Your bond with the Sixth and your passion for the arcane arts of which he was patron exceeded that of anyone I have ever known. That is precisely why the sloppiness and wishful thinking in your proposal are so beneath you, as have been your childish attempts to circumvent the Church's decision on this matter. If you need additional time away from your duties to mourn this Sixth's loss, I will happily grant it. Other than that, I expect to hear nothing more about any of this. May the 4th be eternal. Grand Imact Priest, Sean Glenn Marcus. Date, February 13th, from Redwood Cassidy at 2nd High Toth to Glenn Marcus Sean at 2nd High Toth, regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. Blasphemous. Really? I am baffled by how you could come to that conclusion. My proposal is the exact opposite of blasphemous. It is a perfect example of what Ortothans are supposed to do. We offer blood to keep the Korutuzna alive so they can protect the universe. That is exactly what I want to do. Offer Ortothan blood to restore Yoron Luzen's ability to protect the universe. I recognize that the use of animal blood is outside the bounds of what we would normally accept. I included it in my proposal because I believe the urgency of our situation justifies such a compromise. But I respect your desire to adhere to standard guidelines, and the use of animal blood in my ritual can be avoided by using 4,000 humans instead of 500. That's greater than the membership of my congregation, but it is far from unachievable. By contrast, What is it that you plan to do about the death of the Holy Sixth? Accept it? Go on as if it were merely an occasion for grief? Helplessly watch the universe spiral toward its inevitable end? This is not just about the Holy Sixth, though her loss alone is so incomprehensibly tragic as to justify drastic action. The more important point is that the lifespan of this universe has been counting down from 7 since it began. It's hit every number quicker than it hit the last. It is now hit 1. How long do you think we have before it hits 0? The fourth, alone, will not triumph where he and his 6 divine siblings could not, regardless of how many times we wish him to be eternal. He is not predestined to succeed. To speak as though she is distorts the core of the Ortothan faith. We do not worship the Holy Seven because they will succeed. We worship the Holy Seven so that they will succeed. You are deluding yourself if you think our routine offerings are still enough to ensure that success. If they were, they would have kept the Holy Sixth alive. Just 6 months ago, you, along with the rest of the church, routinely said, "May the 7 be eternal." Perhaps we shouldn't give up on that. I do not mean to be insubordinate, and I will not act against your direct orders, but I beg you to reconsider them. The fate of the universe may depend on my ritual. Please, let us reach some compromise that allows me to perform it. May the 7 be eternal. Ivi MacPriest, Cassidy Redwood. Date, February 13th, 2001, from Glenn Marcus Sean, secondhightoth.org, to Redwood Cassidy at Second Hightoth. Regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. Fellow believer, you are suspended from your duties as Ivi MacPriest for 30 days. I do not intend this as a punishment. I take this action out of concern, not anger. Unless you prefer otherwise, I intend to lead the rest of the church to believe that you were chosen to take additional time off to grieve the Six's death. Whether you realize it or not, you clearly need more time. The degree of despair you have expressed is contrary to the core of our faith. You are right to say that the loss of the Six is a tragedy beyond comprehension, but we are Ortothans. Ortothans do not despair. Hope is the beginning of action. It lies at the core of every warrior's heart. The loss of the Six has clearly extinguished your hope, and you are unfit to belead other Ortothans until you reignite it. Reflect. Travel. Do whatever you must do to restore your hope in the power of the Fourth to protect the universe. When you do, we will welcome you back into your position. May the Fourth be eternal. Grand Imac Priest, Sean Glenn Marcus. Date, February 13, 2001, from Redwood Cassidy to Glenn Marcus Sean, regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. I'm not the one who's lost hope. I'm not the one who wants to lie down and accept what's happened. Hope is precisely what motivates me to not accept the universe's coming death. If there are flaws in my ritual, they can be fixed. I am open to critique and delight in the prospect that my ritual could be improved. I want nothing more than for the odds of its success to be maximized, but I must be allowed to perform it. The universe will die otherwise. Some part of you must understand that. Please, let me return hope to all of creation. May the 7 be eternal. Ivi MacPriest, Cassidy Redwood. Date, February 13th, Glenn Marcus Sean to Redwood Cassidy, regarding inquiries regarding your proposal. Fellow believer, it is not all of creation that has lost hope, but you alone. I hope you have a productive rest. May the 4th be eternal. Grand Imac Priest Sean Glenn Marcus. Date, March 15th, 2001. From Glenn Marcus Sean to Redwood Cassidy. Regarding, how are you doing? Fellow believer, I'm just emailing to check on you. How are you doing? Did you have a productive rest? If there's anything you need my assistance with, or would like to discuss, I am here. May the 4th be eternal. Grand IMAC Priest, Sean Glenn Marcus. Date, March 15th, from Redwood Cassidy to Glenn Marcus Sean. Regarding, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. My suspension gave me a lot of time to think. I spent a lot of that in prayer, working to strengthen my relationship with the 4th. You were right to suggest that I have neglected that relationship in the past in favor of the 6th. I had forgotten how fierce a protective presence the 4th can be. I doubt I will ever truly finish grieving the 6th's loss, but I feel far more hopeful than I did a month ago, and believe I am ready to return to my duties. May the 4th be eternal. I've IMAC Priest, Cassidy Redwood. Date, January 13, 2002, from Glenn Marcus Sean to Redwood Cassidy, regarding your flight. Fellow believer, as you are doubtless aware, 7 warriors arrived at the Winnipeg Artothan Church earlier today with instructions to question you regarding the recent spate of disappearances centered on Winnipeg. Despite the fact that mourning ritual was ongoing, you departed unexpectedly shortly before their arrival. I'm sure you know how that looks. The rest of the church's leadership is certain of your guilt. I alone maintain hope that you might be innocent. I want to believe it could be a coincidence that the vanishings are centered around you, that they began shortly after you were denied Ortothan blood for your blasphemous ritual, and that they ceased after a number of victims consistent with what your final ritual required. You are the most zealous believer I know. I may have brought you into the faith, but I have often looked to your fervor for inspiration. I do not want to believe you are capable of abducting and imprisoning hundreds of innocents so you could harvest their unwilling blood. If you have not done so, if there is some explanation for all of this that leaves your hands spotless, please come to my temple in Ontario and explain yourself. I swear on the name of the 4th, I will do everything in my power to prevent you from being wrongly punished. If, on the other hand, things are as they appear, then you must likewise surrender yourself to me. I know that you are, at your core, a good person, and you know the church will find you no matter how you try to hide. Please surrender yourself to us, so justice may be done swiftly and without unnecessary pain. May the 4th be eternal. Grand IMAC Priest, Sean Glenn Marcus. Date, January 13th, 2002. From Glenn Marcus Sean to Redwood Cassidy, regarding, what have you done? Your prison has been discovered. The SCP Foundation secured it before our warriors arrived, but they watched from nearby as body bags were carried out. Hundreds of them. How could you, Cassie? How could you betray everything we believe in? Are you that lost in despair? Why didn't I know you were so far gone? Was this some terrible relapse, or have you been planning this for months, feigning recovery while plotting murderous blasphemy against the 6th and his memory? No matter how you came to betray our faith, know that you will answer for this. We will track you down anywhere you try to hide, and we will visit justice upon you with the fierceness of a dying sun. May the 4th be eternal. Grand IMAC Priest, Sean Glenn Marcus. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am fucking loving this.
Well, it's good.
Addendum 70463. At 100 hours 11 minutes on January 16th, Cassidy Redwood turned herself into a police station in Winnipeg. Upon arrival, Redwood confessed to the abductions and murders associated with SCP-7046, though her confession omitted the anomalous aspects of her crimes. Embedded, spelled I-M, Foundation agents immediately transferred her to Site 63 for questioning. Show interview 7046-B. Alright, so you take the doctor, I'll keep Cassidy?
Sure.
Begin log, January 16th, 2002. 400 hours, 59 minutes.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Cassidy Redwood. Until recently, I was the IVIMAC priest for the Winnipeg Ortothan Church.
And you were responsible for the thaumaturgic modifications to North Lake Corrections, including the machine inside.
Yep, that was me.
And it was also you who populated the prison with civilians.
Also me.
Why?
Nothing too glamorous. I was just trying to save the universe.
And how are you going to do that?
How well do you know the Ortothan religion?
I'm familiar.
Then you know what happened back in 2000.
The death of Yuan Lucin.
Yes. A warrior mage of unrivaled knowledge and power. One of the wisest and most courageous beings in the universe. And one of the few guardians standing between it and an utter annihilation. Like other warriors before her, she died in battle. Her death left the universe with too little protection. I was trying to change that by bringing her back.
And you hoped the human sacrifice you performed would accomplish this.
I guess I did.
Why did you gather blood in a way so at odds with Orthonian teachings?
Well, that wasn't exactly my original plan.
And what was your original plan?
To get the blood from willing Ortothans.
How did you get from that to what you did?
I guess it started when the sixth died. We'd known for weeks something bad was happening. She was getting hungrier for blood.
What do you mean?
You can use magic to detect the life energy in blood. If you do that to an offering that's just been given, you can watch the energy drain away as one of the Holy Seven claims it. How quickly they claim it tells you how hungry they are. It's like you're watching someone eat a plate of food. If they aren't that hungry, they might take their time with it, savor it, maybe take bites here and there while they're doing something else. If they're hungry, they'll eat faster. If they're starving, they'll shovel it down their throat as fast as they can. That's what the Six was doing around the end of August. Offerings that normally take several seconds to consume would disappear in an instant. This wasn't the first time we'd seen that. It's what happens when the gods are in battle. They need blood in the first place because their bodies constantly bleed. When their enemies are wounding them, they bleed more than usual, which makes them need more blood.
And how often does this happen?
They're warriors. They do battle all the time. That's why we didn't think much of it at first. We increased our sacrifices and encouraged the flock to direct more to the Sixth, but that's all. We just thought it was another battle. I wish I'd known. I'd give anything to have known which prayer would be the last one. There's so much I would have said. I didn't, though. I just said the same prayer I'd said every night for the last 20 years. Then, at 3 a.m., I was awoken by a call from Sean. He told me that the Six had gone from devouring his offerings to ignoring them. I didn't believe him until I pricked my finger on my own altar to check. He was right. The energy just lay there, wasted. Even after seeing that, I didn't accept the Six was dead. There was a conference call the next day that included a lot of the IVIMAC priests in Canada. I was the only one arguing that we should maintain hope that the Six was alive. I didn't think we should announce anything to the laity, and I argued we should continue sacrifices to the Six in case she was behaving oddly because she was in a difficult situation. I was outvoted. The church announced the Six's death later that day in order that all sacrifices be directed to the Fourth. It took me a long time to accept that she was really gone. I attended, but did not lead, the memorial ceremony at my church the next week. While everyone else was grieving, I held out hope that the Six was alive.
What convinced you otherwise?
The fact that she kept rejecting sacrifices. There could have been a reason to do that for a day or two, but not for weeks. Eventually, I had to accept the obvious. Yoran Luzon was dead, and that meant the universe was doomed.
How does that follow?
There was only one god left, alone in a battle that had already claimed 6 others. How long could it be before he fell too? Ortothans are supposed to be stalwart, to never let our hope falter, even in the face of incomprehensible tragedy. In front of my congregation, I spoke and acted as if, despite what had happened to all of our comrades, the fourth would be eternal. I don't know how I said it with a straight face. For billions of years, Ortothans have incessantly wished for our gods to be eternal, even as they perished one by one. Why should the fourth be any different? I couldn't just cling to the delusion that everything would work out. The fact is, without the sixth, the fourth isn't going to last much longer, and once he dies, the universe will too. Knowing that everything and everyone around me would soon be devoured by the Vortut was a kind of hell. Everything I did felt empty. Nothing I made, no one I helped, nothing I learned would last long enough to mean anything. I asked Sean to give me some time off to process things, and he was very understanding. I took October and November off. It was during that time the idea of resurrecting the sixth first occurred to me. You're muted.
That's quite a goal. Sorry.
I thought so too. I tried to sell myself it was just wishful thinking, that I'd be better off moving on, but how could I move on? How could I just ignore what was going to happen? At first, I just hoped someone else would do it. There are countless Ortothan civilizations in the universe, most of them larger than primitives like us can imagine. I told myself one of them must have the knowledge and resources to bring her back. That didn't happen, though. Week after week passed, and nothing changed. After a few months, I realized that if some far-off Ortothan civilization was going to do it, they would have by now. That's where a reasonable person would have let it go. They would have accepted that if countless galaxies full of super-advanced aliens couldn't bring the six back, I couldn't either. I wasn't reasonable, though. I was drowning in grief, and like anyone who's drowning, I grasped at anything I could use to pull myself back up. So, before I gave up on the idea, I decided to work through the problem myself and see what I could come up with. I told myself I was just trying to prove it was impossible so I could stop thinking about it. That was bullshit, though. I was hoping to find exactly what I did.
You found it was possible.
If you make some very, very generous assumptions, and have access to more blood than I had any hope of obtaining, yes, it should be theoretically be possible to restore enough vitality to the sixth that he might be able to heal himself the rest of the way with his own magic. I should have given up when I saw I'd need 100 million people to do it, but that was still more hope than I'd had since he died. So before I abandoned the idea, I decided to see if I could find a way to reduce the amount of blood required. I poured through every book I own, silently begging to find something that could help, and eventually, I thought I had. In fact, I thought I had found several ways of making my sacrifices more efficient, which I could stack on top of each other to decrease the amount of blood I needed to a manageable level. I was ecstatic when I did the calculations. With just a few hundred people and a few dozen cows working together for 14 weeks, I could bring the sixth back. I took it to the church right away. Some of what I wanted to do was against the normal rules, and some of my sources were unsavory, but I thought they would see the necessity of the project and be willing to look past that.
But they weren't.
No. Even if they had been willing... Even if they had been willing to look past the animal blood, they thought my ritual wouldn't work. I guess they'd been vindicated on that front. Maybe I should have known. I'm not some amateur mage. Every reason they gave for why it wouldn't work was something I knew about and thought I'd solved. Looking back, I feel like some part of me knew better. But that's probably just hindsight. At the time, I thought my doubts were just anxiety about the grandeur of what I was attempting. I was surprised when leadership turned me down.
What did they do? And what did you do after they did?
First, I tried to find ways around their decision. Strictly speaking, the refusal to dedicate any resources to my project just meant I couldn't order my congregation to assist me with my ritual. I could still try to find 515 other Ortothans who would do it as a personal favor to me. I started asking around, Several of my friends agreed to help, but most people were confused as to why such an important project were being managed by me and not church leadership. Some of them asked Sean about it, and he was mad that I tried to go behind his back. He told me to abandon any attempt to carry out the ritual. I told him I would, but I didn't. I just started to make sure. I was alone with people when I asked them, and I wiped their memory if they said no. Got a few more co-conspirators that way. I wasn't the only one who was worried about whether the Fourth would be able to defend the universe on her own. For the most part, though, I lost people once I told them my plan had to be secret because church leadership had rejected it. People assumed leadership knew better than I did.
Where did that leave you?
Depressed. Hopeless. Sure, the universe was going to be destroyed because of the church's decision. Then, one day, while I was driving home from the ritual, I had a thought that reignited my hope. The church aren't the only people in the world. Every day I was surrounded by people who, thanks to you and yours, had been denied access to anything supernatural. Their world is as blank and meaningless as mine felt, devoid of real magic and true gods. To them, problems that I could wish away in an instant are life-ruining, are life-ending crises, ones that they would do anything to get out of. I decided I'd find people outside the Veil who desperately needed something only magic could give them, and offer them those things in exchange for their blood.
That's in contrast with your church's general policy regarding the Veil.
That's actually debatable. We're allowed to approach individuals and try to bring them to the faith, and once we've begun that process with someone, we can do magic in front of them. I certainly planned on trying to convert my clients once I was done with my ritual, so technically I was allowed to tell them what I needed to tell them. I picked people who I thought would be able to keep a secret. A lot of them were in professions that involve secrecy of some kind. Lawyers, doctors, police, priests, that kind of thing. And of course I told all of them to keep quiet about their interactions with me. I hoped that would be enough.
What did you offer them?
Healing magic, mostly. Most of them were terminally ill or had family who were. If you have the kinds of skills I have and are willing to burn through your life savings buying ritual components, you can heal just about anything.
Were you able to get all the volunteers you needed?
No, I got close. I would have been able to if it were just a matter of finding people who would take the deal. But the process of approaching someone, explaining everything to them, and persuading them to accept my offer took time. And things went wrong before I was able to get the people I needed.
How did they go wrong?
They couldn't keep their mouths shut. Actually, that's not fair. Most of them could. It's just that most wasn't enough. Several of them recommended my miracle working services to desperate people they knew. That was annoying, but on its own, it was manageable. I even recruited a few of those people. However, things started to go downhill when one of them mentioned me online. He tried to be vague. He just said that people with no other option should go to Winnipeg to find a miracle worker. I doubt anyone on the wrong side of the Veil believed it, but you noticed it. Or at least I assumed it was you at the time. You, I assume, sent someone posing as a paranormal investigator to visit the man who'd made that post. Footnote. This description matches actions undertaken by Agent Redacted on June 10th, 2001. Fortunately, I'd anticipated that you might show up, and I'd already coached him on what to say. Muted again.
This is a long one. I was like trying to find my place. I scrolled down to see where it was.
Yeah.
Whew.
What did you tell them to say?
That it had been a prank. You seemed to buy it, at least for the moment. After that incident, I had stern talks with everyone. I tried to stress that there were people who wouldn't like what I was doing, and that drawing your attention would keep me from helping them. It was almost enough. Another one of my clients was a woman whose son was dying of leukemia. The doctors had given him less than a year to live, and he hadn't taken his prognosis well. But she wanted to see her son happy again, so she told him that I was going to heal him. Knowledge of my existence spread to his entire support group the next time they met. His mother called me as soon as she learned, and I went into a mad dash to keep everyone quiet by bringing the rest of the kids' families in on my deal. I got to all of them in time. Barely. Fortunately, I had something to offer them in exchange for their silence. Looking back, I had the situation handled at that point. Maybe if I kept on course, everything would have turned out a lot better. At the time, though, that incident made me think I wouldn't be able to keep my recruits quiet for long enough to complete my ritual. To keep anything like that from happening again, I added a clause to my deal that required everyone to move to a secluded location, where they'd be cut off from anyone they could gossip to.
Your prison.
Yeah. I didn't use a prison because I wanted to keep people there against their will. I just used the nearest abandoned building that could house hundreds of people. I made it as comfortable as I could. My clients weren't happy about this alteration in my deal, but none of them were in any position to refuse. I should have had that in my deal from the beginning. Maybe that would have made things turn out better. Unfortunately, I didn't think about it until you'd taken notice of me once, and you hadn't forgotten about the man who'd made that post. When he, with a bunch of other people near Winnipeg who were terminally ill or had residents who were suddenly disappeared to an undisclosed location for several weeks, you noticed. You arrived in force and started combing the Winnipeg area. I knew you would find my prison. There's no way you wouldn't check a building so well suited to what I was doing. My only option was to make it look normal by the time you got there. Fortunately, I hadn't assembled my machine yet, but I still had to move hundreds of people out of my prison. I had no other safe place to move them to, and even if I did, I couldn't have brought them there without you noticing. The only place I could send them was back home. Of course, not long after I did that, you'd interrogate them, and I wouldn't be able to coach hundreds of people well enough that they could fool you. My solution was to wipe their memories of me before I sent them back.
I believe I remember the incident you're talking about. The people who'd vanished suddenly returned home and their illnesses had been cured.
Yep. I healed them before sending them back. I hoped you'd have a hard time covering that up. I wanted to make you as busy as possible so you didn't have time to look for me. At least, that was my excuse. I think the truth is I couldn't bear to let them die after knowing them for months. Especially the kids. Excuse or not, it worked. Your efforts to create the appearance that they'd been misdiagnosed, thanks for not just killing them, by the way, bought me time. And when a squad of agents finally did scope out my prison, it looked just like it should. I had to re-enchant it after they left, but that was the least of my problems. Now I was back to square one in my search for blood. I thought about starting over, working to find a new set of clients, maybe from a larger area, but it was too late for that. You'd have already made the connection between Winnipeg and mysterious long vacations taken by terminally ill people and their relatives. Even if I teleported all over North America to find new clients, you'd know where to look for me.
Why draw from a limited radius at all?
Have you ever cast a teleportation spell? I strained to get as far as I did. In any case, pulling from a larger area wasn't enough anymore. I had to find some other way of recruiting people, something that would look different enough to you that you wouldn't realize it was connected to what I'd been doing before. Also, because I'd gone through with the healing everyone, I'd used up the ritual components I'd bought, and I didn't have the money to buy that many again. For days I tried to think of an alternative to what I wound up doing, but I couldn't. Only desperate people would agree to spend months living in an abandoned prison, and that was precisely who I couldn't work with anymore. My only remaining option was not to give people a choice.
So you didn't?
I was only planning to keep them until I finished my ritual. Being confined to their cells for a few months would be pleasant with them, but neither would be the destruction of the universe. I hoped that when I was done, and I could explain everything to them, they would understand.
Oh, there we go. Why not tell them before then?
The last thing I would have done is comfort them. At best, they think I was crazy. At worst, they'd believe I was harvesting their blood to resurrect a strange god, and they'd judge that god by my actions. Once the ritual was done, though, once they'd seen Jorn Lusen's full glory up close, they'd know she was good, even if I wasn't. She might have even apologized to them herself. She'd certainly have been mortified by how I brought her back.
Why didn't that stop you?
Because if I didn't do it, the universe would be destroyed. If I had to give up my place in Itoth to stop that from happening, it was worth it.
You said earlier that... Oh,
the
sure.
Artothan afterlife.
Sure. You said earlier that your ritual was supposed to span 14 weeks, correct?
Yes.
According to the survivors, you didn't take just blood from them for 14 weeks. You took it weekly throughout the time you held them.
I did.
Why?
To offer it to the fourth. Their bodies were going to make it anyway, and my morality was already compromised, so it would have been wasteful not to take it. I started the actual ritual in mid-December, once I'd finally gotten the 503 captives I needed. I got through the first 4 stages without any problems, but on the day I was supposed to perform the 5th, my luck ran out. The church discovered what I was doing.
How did that happen?
The disappearances I caused followed an identifiable pattern. The church weren't the only ones who noticed, and they were nervous about the fact that it was happening in the part of the world where they're most active.
Why did that make you nervous? Why did that make them nervous?
Partly because they were worried some of their enemies could be responsible, and partly because they were afraid you or the GOC would blame them for it. Those were excuses, of course. They really just wanted to protect innocent people. So they assembled a team to investigate the matter, and it only took them a few months to figure me out. They sent a group of warriors to apprehend me while I was leading ritual. One of my co-conspirators warned me of their approach, so I wasn't captured then and there. But now the church was hunting me. I had powerful magic to help me hide, but they had equally powerful magic to help them find me. I knew I had about a day before they found my prison. Once that happened, they would arrive in force, imprison or kill me and my accomplices, destroy my machine, and send my victims home. All hope for my ritual, and with it, the universe would be lost. That meant I needed 10 times as much blood as I'd planned to take from my prisoners at any one time. There was no way to get that much without killing most of them. I was horrified when I realized that. But it didn't even question whether I'd do it. Some of the others needed convincing, but not me. It would have been selfish to let the universe be destroyed just to keep the blood of a few hundred people off my hands.
So you didn't intend for any of the partially drained subjects to die?
Of course not. Wait, did some of them?
24 of them did.
No. No, damn it! I must have taken more blood than I meant to.
Did your accomplices participate in the killings?
There was a short, panicked discussion about whether they would go through with it, but it didn't take long for us to come to a consensus. They believed, as fervently as I did, that this was necessary to save the universe, and every single one of them, bless their souls, agreed to be fully drained for the ritual. By dying themselves, each of them allowed me to spare one extra captive. I would have done the same, but I had to be alive and conscious to perform the ritual, which limited how much blood I could give.
How were the murders carried out?
First, we had to get some equipment we needed. Exsanguinating someone completely requires special tools which we hadn't known we'd need. I made trips to a hospital, a slaughterhouse, and a funeral home to steal what I needed. After that, we killed the cows. One by one, we led them to our machine, knocked them out, injected them with an anticoagulant, strung them up, cut them open, and drained them. It was the same thing you would have done if you were going to use their meat. Once they were drained, we just left them up in the corner of the room. The cows got harder to manage as the bodies piled up. Cows are smarter than most people give them credit for. They know when they're being led to the slaughter. Still, that was the easy part. The hard part came next. By the time we went upstairs to get the first of our human sacrifices, they'd been waiting on us for hours. They were more confused than afraid, and the first pair cooperated with us as we led them downstairs. Just like the cows, they didn't realize what we had in mind until they saw the pile of bodies next to the machine. One of them asked if we were going to kill them. Before I could lie, one of my accomplices said yes. Do you know what it's like to have someone beg you for their life?
Yes.
Oh, of course. I forgot who I was talking to. My apologies. Still, you're the sort of person who would accept a job at the SCP Foundation. Imagine if your job was supposed to be to save people. Point is, once they started begging, I was desperate to shut them up. I started by shouting at them, which made them quieter, but not quiet. By the time we got to the top of the stairs that led to my intake pipe, I couldn't take it anymore. In a desperate attempt to soothe my conscience, I did something I'd already decided I wouldn't do. I tried to explain why their deaths were for the greater good. God, I'm an idiot. Of course they thought I was insane. One of my comrades tried to prove otherwise by casting a spell in front of them, which just made them think we were maniacs with magical powers. It was a sleeping spell that finally shut them up. I should have done that before I even brought them downstairs. We injected their unconscious bodies with the anticoagulant, sliced open their aortas, and bled them until they died. Once their heart stopped pushing their blood out, we pumped water through their circulatory system to flush out the rest. We couldn't let any of it go to waste. When we were done, we went out to get our next pair of victims. The screaming they'd heard didn't make them eager to come downstairs, but this time I did what I should have done. I put them to sleep before I even opened their cell. That was what I did going forward. Before I even opened the cell door, I would knock out whoever I was going to take. Some of them begged to know what was going on, but I'd learned my lesson. I didn't tell them anything. Once we'd fully drained everyone we intended to, we went back up for the rest of the blood we needed.
How did you decide which ones to kill?
Age. We spared the youngest ones. Draining them wasn't any different of how we'd been doing it until then, except we left the needle in longer. Of course, having liters of blood taken from you is a bit less pleasant than losing a spoonful or so I had trouble convincing some of them that I wasn't bleeding them dry. But I could at least rest easy knowing I wasn't. Except for a few dozen of them, I guess. In any case, when I was done with all my prisoners, I drained my friends. If I were a better person, the fact that they were willing to would have made me that the easiest part, but it didn't. Most of them had been my friends for decades. I'd known 4 of them since before Sean brought me into the faith. I'd known one of them since he was a child. I converted several of them. They'd still be living normal lives outside the Veil if it weren't for me, and I hadn't just killed them. I corrupted them first, made them into kidnappers and murderers with no Itoth to look forward to. I had no choice, though. The fate of the universe was more important. Jorn Luzin was more important. Once they were all dead, I let some of my own blood into the machine, then turned it on. For over an hour, the blood of my victims circulated over my altars, while I posed enchanted to direct their life energy to whatever remained of Jorn Luzin. When I was done, I called ambulances for my living victims and disabled the rune work I'd done to keep people from entering the building. I settled in to wait for my work to pay off. I truly believed that Jorn Luzin was minutes away from appearing in his full glory.
You must have expected her to be furious. Why didn't you flee?
I thought about it. There wasn't any point. In the likely event Jorn Luzin would want to punish me, there'd be nothing I could do to get away from her. Also, I wanted to see the culmination of my work. What I'd accomplished would rewrite the history of the universe. Trillions of Ortothans would learn about it, and for all they'd condemn my methods, they'd rejoice that I'd brought the Holy Six back to life. I stood in front of my machine, waiting for the Six to appear. I waited, and waited, and as I did, I slowly, painfully came to realize that I had waited too long. Where was Jorn Luzin? Could I have been wrong that she would manifest here? Maybe she'd woken up in her body, wherever the Fourth had interred it. I checked the blood in my machine for life energy. If my ritual had worked, it should have been gone. It wasn't. None of it had been claimed. I thought about running my machine again, but the ambulances I called would arrive before I could finish my ritual again. In any case, I knew I had done it correctly. I had practiced it every day for months. I scanned my offering a few more times, as if that could change something. It didn't. I grabbed some paper from the other room, folded it into a small altar to the Sixth, and pricked my finger to see if a new offering would be taken in. It wasn't. I tried again. Nothing. I kept doing it, squeezing my finger to get more blood onto the altar and scanning it as I did. Nothing changed. The sacrifices weren't being claimed. There was no Jorn Luzin to claim them. My ritual hadn't raised her. It didn't seem to have done anything at all. After everything I'd done, I had nothing to show for it but hundreds of corpses. I might have stood there forever, trying again and again to give a drop of blood to the Sixth, but those ambulances were coming, and I decided I should get out of there before I was seen with the bodies.
Where did you go?
I just wandered around for a few days, processing what had happened, what I'd done. Eventually, I decided to turn myself in to the police.
Why?
Because I'm a murderer. Because I prefer it to facing the church. Because my victims and their families deserve closure. They don't have much time left. Anything I can do to make the rest of it easier, I owe them.
Why don't they have much time left?
That's the worst part of all this. After everything I've done, the universe is still doomed. We have 10, maybe 15 years left. Possibly less. Certainly not more. The things that lurk outside the cosmos will burrow in and devour it. The last of the Korutusa will fall, and the second Hytoth will be lost. Nothing I did changed that. Now, nothing will. End log. January 16th, 2002. 500 hours, 26 minutes. Addendum 7046-4. On January 18th, 2002, Cassidy Redwood self-terminated by self-inflicted laceration. A makeshift Ortothan altar constructed out of paper she had been given as writing material was present in her cell. Experts on Ortothan practice who examined the scene concluded that Redwood had offered her spilled blood to Rakmo-Lucen, the only remaining Ortothan deity. Addendum 7046-5. In April 2008, SCP-7000 7046's anomalous effects began to diminish. Sounds made inside the structure became detectable from the outside, though the structure's thaumaturgic properties still dampened them. As of June 9th, 2022, the exterior walls of SCP-7046 decreased the volume of a sound made inside by only 30 decibels. Recent tests on the bars of SCP-7046-1 cells have shown that some will now bend in response to forces as low as 1,000 newtons, though others retain much higher tensile strength. Foundation thaumaturgists have concluded that these changes are the result of the natural decay in its thaumaturgic enchantments. If present trends continue, the object will cease to be anomalous by 2040.
That was a long one.
I've got feelings, but you go first.
Well, no, yeah. So there's a lot of good in this article. A lot of really good stuff in this article. I feel like it didn't need to be anywhere near as long as it is, but there was a lot of stuff to enjoy. I like that. It definitely dragged a little bit. Definitely dragged. For sure.
You could completely cut that interview and lose almost nothing.
Exactly.
That
could be like a supplement.
I was so stoked reading the Glenn Marcus and Cassidy go back and forth, and in the scene where Glenn Marcus says, "You didn't," and with everything we had read about the prison before, everything in that interview was already in my head. Like, yeah. All I didn't know, the only information that gave me is that it made Cassidy, like, not the worst person until she was, like, still bad. Like, I was healing people, and the people I took were terminally ill, and I was helping them until I wasn't anymore.
Yeah, I thought that was a weird shift, because it really made it seem like you were trying to sympathize with the character, and then she was like, but I couldn't hide it anymore, so I thought maybe I just might as well be the villain everyone wants you to be. You know?
And so, man, oh man, because when we got at the very start, when I saw that picture, there's some good pictures in here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That prison picture hallway, I love that. That's gorgeous. I wonder where that is. Because it's old and windy and the colors are great. And then the description of the prison, wonderful. The idea of why the church is the way it is. I don't necessarily know why some of the things are, but hey, it's a magic prison at this point. Make it what it's got to be.
Exactly.
And then we get the back and forth, and like, God, I was so stoked with everything until we hit the interview. Yeah. We hit the interview, and this immediately just crashed. I was no longer involved. I lost the will to act.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
I was having so much fun.
You were monologuing, like that character was going on and on and on.
And Cassidy's voice got so much more casual and like in the letters. I guess it was because she was talking to the church people. She had this like formality and like this
right,
tone.
Like dignification. Yeah. No,
and then the very first thing she says in her interview is, "Yep, it's me. That was me." It's the second thing she says. I'm just like, oh, now it's just like sarcastic prison person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, like, take that interview out. I do want something more to like call it a final story.
Right.
But I want like a result or a failure and like an after thing. I don't need to be told what everything previous told me. I need more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a really big issue. It's a lot of repetition of the exposition you already knew.
One or the
And,
other.
like, committing unaliving in prison afterwards, being caught. Cool, I like that as a detail.
Mhm.
The final addendum that the thaumatology is decaying. If that is a note that the world is going to end in 2040 because the
Right.
magic of the High Toth is fading, then I dig it. It's a good detail, but again, especially with how strong everything before that, I probably would even like it. I probably would even like it if it were not for that frickin' interview.
Yeah. I mean, great use of high toth stuff, as you said. It just, it needs a lot taken out, I think. Even if you put it in as a supplement, you could do that. You could get extra upvotes. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Put it in a supplement, but main body of the article is not necessary. Not necessary.
Oh man, that is. Oh god, I don't even know how to vote on that because I was so high and then I was so low.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards an upvote, but it needs to be addressed. It's at 10. Like it's suffering.
It's suffering. I'll boost it my upvote because what was
pity
in there
upvote.
that I liked was really good, and the rest is competent, if not just a drag.
Yes, I agree.
But author, I'm begging you, parse down or completely
Please.
delete that interview.
Please.
Please.
Not unnecessary.
Your story is so good. Your characters are great. Like when Glenn and when those church people were going back and forth in those emails, I was hooked.
Yeah, you could tell it would get heated. It was like real natural escalation of conversation. It was good.
And oh my god, one detail. When Cassidy switched to saying May the 4th rather than May the 7 be eternal, because she was starting to pretend to agree or was buying into for a minute what they were saying. I think she was pretending because I think it was before not the real break, but the break where she decided she was going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And so I like that as a devious fake out detail.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that, but that makes complete sense. Very, very cool.
Okay. All right, let's see if our next article is a final for tonight or if it's a starter for next time.
Sure.
7268. Where are we?
7268 is. It is the spark of life.
Oh my sweet Jesus.
Oh. Yeah, this looks like a long one.
Next time on 7Con Read.
Yeah, we're starting with 7268, A Spark of Life by, it's trying to, still scrolling to the bottom here. It's taking a second. There we go. Okay. By Blindbeard.
All right, I find your, on a glance, I like your format. There's a lot of interesting things here. There's the, I'm glad I checked that footnote to be like, oh, there's still more. Don't get excited at the
there's
end.
an obligatory a collapsible at the very end.
Just to tease us a little bit more. But the formatting looks pretty. I like the tables. The pictures look like they're going to be nice.
There's a lot of white space. Maybe it'll be, maybe it'll be pleasantly surprising how quickly it goes by. But
maybe it'll be so engaging that it'll be a brisk read. It'll
I'm
fly by.
Hoping. Let me see. What we're looking at here. This is. Yeah, it's only 14,000 words.
All right, that's a good first quarter of the stream minimum.
Oh yeah. Whew.
Yeah, I think one of my readings, I specifically, because it's one of my articles, and I checked that it's 8,000 words, and I think that was like a 60-minute reading with character stuff, so that'll probably be more like the first half of the stream.
Yeah. I'm wondering next X thousand contest staff, if you're listening, put a word limit on.
I want a short works contest.
Brevity is the soul of wit. Come on.
I do not care what the theme is. I just care that next contest is short works.
Short works, the theme is short works. It's only about short articles.
So with that in mind, friends and Site42 fam, allow me to start the sign-off process. Remember why we're here. We are here first and foremost because we are trying to round up every tree in the Alabama area and get our vengeance.
Oh, Alabama. Man, Arkansas is going to be really upset.
Well, we did them a favor.
I already sent all the dozers there. Damn it.
Wait, it's a 2-for-1 on the A states. We'll give it's a gimmick.
It's fine. Was it Alaska?
Come on. And beyond that, make sure you go check out Billith on Twitch. The Ghost Bashers are going to be bashing ghosts probably as soon as we're done with this stream.
Yeah, give me 10 minutes to go,
Get a drink, clean yourself up.
Yeah. But yes, we will be join us over there.
Transfer order on those dozers.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I have to redirect an entire fleet of dozers. They're heading across the Canada border right now as I speak.
So 10 minutes, not that big a deal.
10 minutes, it's fine.
And then be sure to support Site42 on Patreon. That way you can help us do these broadcasts with the Site42 community. We are growing, working with different filmmakers and game developers. We're trying to do things that help all of our SCP content creators grow. And so if you help us, we help them, and it's trickle through economics. Make sure you support us. Make sure you support them individually as well. And with that, thank you for joining us. I've been Dr. Sherman.
And I'm Billith.
And thank you for tuning in to another anomalous broadcast from Site42. This is that panic feeling when I know I had a song and I have completely forgotten it. So I'm going to sign off instead with improvised yodeling.